All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to WJOB 1230 AM and 104.7 FM in Hammond, Indiana, and this is the Morning Call, Day 1. It is a two-for week, and it's great to be here with you. It's Tom Dabertin, going to be here until 8:30 this morning, and then the town of Dyer will take over, and we'll be back tomorrow morning from 6 a.m. until 9 a.m. So it is wonderful, as always, to talk to you and to hear from you. Give us a call at 845-1100, but before we do that, let's do traffic and weather. And traffic this morning looks pretty good in northwest Indiana with the exception of Klein Avenue. There remains some road construction, so be careful in that area. It's going to grind to a halt at times, so be careful there. Otherwise, going across the line into Illinois, the Chicago Skyway looks good. 294 is fine. The Dan Ryan is backing up starting around 51st, and the backup will take you all the way into the circle. Otherwise, right now at the 6 o'clock hour, the Stevenson, the Eisenhower, and even the Kennedy are reporting few backups, some heavy backups when you get toward O'Hare Airport. Otherwise, not looking bad this morning. So let's talk weather, and I forgot to give you the numbers. So the pool temperature is 87 degrees in the Dabertin pool this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 66 degrees with highs of 72 and lows of 59. It's going to be partly sunny today, and then tomorrow on Thursday we'll be having highs of 77 and lows of 59. Should be mostly sunny and pleasant. And Friday we'll be having highs of 80 and lows of 61, and should be mostly sunny and pleasant.
All right, and there you have it. And of course, Pierogi Fest comes up this weekend, beginning on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in downtown Whiting. I wonder how many people did not watch Kitchen Nightmares last night with Gordon Ramsay. It was a big, popular episode in Northwest Indiana. And all I can say is a shout out to Fire Chief Bernie Grisolia. Even had a speaking part on the show yesterday. He said he was hungry. They showed him eating. I talked to Bernie, and Bernie said that Gordon Ramsay actually served him his own food. So there you go. Had a little respect for the fire chief, but I thought it was a good show, kind of typical, follows the bar rescue format where, the celebrity chef comes in or the celebrity comes in and saves the day. So love to hear your thoughts on that. There's some controversy brewing again with baseball in downtown Whiting. We have the continuing problems with Iran and not sure where that's going. And lots of other things to talk about. But we've already got callers, so let's go right to the callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Tom. How you doing?
Fine. How are you, Mike?
Well, 87 degrees, so 24 hours. You'll be back tomorrow morning, and it's going to be cool today because we got the air off, the windows opened up, finally giving the air conditioner a break. So 24 hours from now, your pool will be below 87, you think?
I think the pool will probably be about 86. So, again, it does not cool off very quickly. The concrete, you've got a foot of concrete on either side of that water, so the concrete gets warm this time of the year and holds the heat in. And don't forget, the pool is, because it's in-ground, there's no cooling effect as exists with an above-ground pool. So it takes a long time for it to cool down.
So this morning, is your pool warmer than the studio?
Probably maybe a little bit warmer, but the studio is pretty warm this morning.
We finally got AC.
We did get AC. Mm-hmm. It feels a lot better in here. It sure does.
Yeah, cool. Okay, good. All right. I sent you a message, and okay, here's the deal. This morning, I'm checking what my bills are going to start being. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm on the budget.
Well, just
plan.
Explain to people. Okay. You sent a message about NIPSCO, just so that everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, that I'll let you explain, but let me explain about me now. Mm-hmm. My NIPSCO bill now is going to go up every month, $43. In a year's time, $516 more I have to pay to NIPSCO. Mm-hmm. While NIPSCO, which I have the list out now, and then I went to Lake County, got the ballots of who's on the ballot list for primary in November. Okay, my NIPSCO's going up, and I see all that NIPSCO donates, sponsors, and gives money to, and like you said to me, $1 million they put out. Why are they giving all this money but raking us now people that are on very limited incomes and their property taxes are going to go up. NIPSCO's going up. Gas is costing ridiculous. Food is going up.
Let me jump in.
Okay.
Let me jump in and explain though what you're talking about, because I don't think most listeners have a clue what you're talking about right now, because you're talking about the fact that you researched what NIPSCO gives in donations, and NIPSCO has two sides. So NIPSCO gives money to worthy organizations, all right, like the Challenger Center, for example, or to a local organization in Whiting or in Maryville or in Crown Point. And then they also give a lot of money to politicians and political campaigns. And that's been covered on these airwaves before. Do I have a problem with NIPSCO giving, say, $1 million a year to local communities? No, I don't. I think they should support local communities. And by the way, that local support is going to shrink further, because it was announced yesterday that People's Bank is now being sold. And so you're going to have very, very few remaining local financial institutions in Northwest Indiana. And that's problematic for a lot of good, well-intentioned organizations and not-for-profits. At the same time, should NIPSCO be giving money to candidates, basically, so that they can be in office or stay in office and support the NIPSCO agenda, which is out of control, and the prices, as you said, are rising dramatically. And I agree with you there. They shouldn't be able to give those political dollars out. But if they give money to support the Boys and Girls Club, for example, or the Challenger Center, I think that's fine.
Yeah, well, I made a choice this morning after seeing my NIPSCO bill went up. You know, when I go shopping, would you like to round your money off? No, because I need to make sure I have my $516 at the end of the year to pay for the raise of my NIPSCO.
Well,
and
Mike,
if I see
Mike, wait a minute.
And if I
Mike,
see
no, wait a minute. No, Mike,
NIPSCO,
Mike, let me talk, okay? Because this is not just a 3-minute or 4-minute dialogue by Mike. It's got to be two-way. Look, the argument that you're not going to round off. I mean, a round off, you're talking about less than $1, okay? When you had your situation a year ago, people came out and helped you, and I think you have to help other people. So I disagree with your comment. You're not going to give money in a round off. I think that's a little bit trite on your part. It certainly you can afford to give less than $1 in a round off. Okay, go ahead.
Well, the thing is yes, North Township. Yes, I will help them out because they helped me out. Mm-hmm. Mad Mac helped me out tremendously, taking care while I'm in the hospital. Ron Matlock helped me out. Okay? Those people I'll help.
Well, you're not going to help, but you're not going to help anybody else unless they helped you. I mean, look, I get your point about NIPSCO, but the fact is that the reason why NIPSCO's rates are going up so quickly has nothing to do with their financial contributions to local organizations, where NIPSCO basically, we've talked about this before, they are a regulated monopoly. All right, they enjoy protection under the law, and in return, they're supposed to give us very low pricing and great service, and they don't do either. All right, they finally replaced a leaning utility pole up in Robertsdale at 121st and Calumet that I have mentioned for years. It was leaning more than 30 degrees. They finally changed it out 2 weeks ago. I mean, to me, their service and their maintenance of their system is garbage. And NIPSCO doesn't care about Northwest Indiana anymore. They're a part of a larger company headquartered in Ohio, and they really don't care about us. That's the problem. Yeah.
And then, okay, I'm going to let you go and get on the other callers, but I forgot 3 other people. I mentioned Ron Matlock and Mad Mac. MX, Dave Gearman, and there's a name called, I don't want to mention his name, Ron, and a few other people came out and helped me. Okay, if those people ever need help, I'll be there. If they're on the ground, crashed, hurt, I'll help them. Mm-hmm. Because they helped me.
Sure.
I mean that.
But you have to think beyond. You have to think beyond just cause and effect relationship when it comes to charitable giving. You can't say, well, I'm only going to give to people who helped me, because otherwise that doesn't spread the charitable giving beyond that small group. Look, I get your point.
Yeah.
I get your point being upset about NIPSCO, but
yeah.
you got to take it beyond that group.
Everybody come out to that Pierogi Fest. It's going to be a good weekend, I'm going to try to get out there, and they will have a drop box for the United Steelworkers 7-1 sitting around there to donate for the 800 workers that are left
Are you
at
going to
home.
donate? Are you going to donate to that?
Yes, because I was in the union.
Okay.
And I will donate to a union.
All right.
So, that's where I always support unions.
All right. Hey, thanks so much. Thanks so much for
Yep.
calling. 845-1100 is the number to call. We've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Wow, that's a shocker to hear that the Buknowski family is selling People's Bank.
It is, and
they started out.
They've owned it for 100. It's been here for 116 years, and Walt, you understand this. There is a continuing shrinkage of the number of local financial institutions in Northwest Indiana. Tech Credit Union, obviously, is a homegrown local organization, and they sponsor this show, and they do a lot of good things locally. But as these banks become larger and become part of larger networks, they have less and less commitment to Northwest Indiana. And the Community Reinvestment Act, CRA, basically no longer exists. So many banks have national exemptions now. Chase doesn't give a dime in Northwest Indiana, okay? Fifth Third Bank, there are a bunch of others. They give very, very little. And even Centier Bank. Centier Bank has pulled back dramatically in its support of events in Northwest Indiana and charitable giving. So, losing People's Bank. People's Bank gave a lot of money and provided a lot of support to events in Northwest Indiana, including Pierogi Fest. And losing them is going to be a big loss for a lot of organizations and a lot of events in Northwest Indiana.
They started out in East Chicago with a bank at 149th and Indianapolis Boulevard. That was my parents' bank. And one of my earliest memories as a preschooler was walking into that bank with my mother, and old man Buknowski yelled out, "Hey, send your boy over here." And I very gingerly walked over to his desk. He opened the drawer at his desk, and there was candy in there. And I looked at it. I looked at him. He said, "Go ahead and take some."
Wow.
It was one of my earliest experiences as a kid. But that's sad to hear that People's Bank is going to be sold. In any case, Pierogi Fest, when does it start on Friday? Is it around noon?
It starts at 11 a.m.
Oh,
At 11 a.m. 11 a.m. and goes to 5 p.m. on Sunday, and it's 11 to 11 Friday and Saturday, and then 11 to 5 on Sunday. A lot of the food booths, though, close down around 10 o'clock on Friday and Saturday. The parade is at 7 p.m. But I want to get back to this issue locally. Did you watch Kitchen Nightmares last night about Freddy's Steakhouse?
no.
So let me ask you this, and Jim Candron, nice Cambritt, excuse me, a nice guy, and Freddy's has been an institution in Northwest Indiana for a long time.
Yes.
I'm really interested to hear from people who watched it. They did the typical, there's these problems, and the celebrity chef saves the day, kind of the way John Taffer does on Bar Rescue, comes in, raises his voice, screams and hollers, and saves the day at the last minute. Kind of typical. It was far more reserved than the show that followed. They showed dual episodes last night, and the second one, you've got a guy named Gus that he's screaming and fighting with and ready to take down in the parking lot, kind of the typical approach. Freddy's wasn't nearly that bad, but I don't know. I don't know if those shows really, in the long term, help a great deal or not. It certainly created an amazing amount of interest last night. If you looked at social media, everybody and their brother was posting about Freddy's Steakhouse being on television. I got probably a dozen text messages from friends and listeners who said, hey, are you watching this? It's on. But again, the fact that he was using Canadian beef and now he's using USDA Prime Choice from Linz, that's good to hear. But I don't know that this show itself actually would make me want to say, okay, now I'm going to go to Freddy's, because I already go to Freddy's. So I just don't know if it had much of an impact.
Well, for people out there who've not been to Freddy's or knows nothing about it, it's in Hammond on Kennedy Avenue. I don't remember the exact what's the name of the street that's there on the corner with.
It's right about 165th.
Yeah, something like that. Any case, but it's a great old Middle Western steak place. The service is excellent. Has a nice, friendly feel to the place, whether you were there for lunch or dinner, and try it out. I mean, it's
absolutely. If it brings more people through the door, great. But again, just watching the show itself, I don't know that the show would cause me to want to go there. I think I think Freddy's is a great restaurant, and I go there anyway. And so my point is, I don't know that the show basically served as an additional lure to get people to go there. It was great for Bernie Grisolia. Again, he was front and center and says, I'm hungry and I'm here to eat, or something like that. So they show Bernie, and that's nice, because it was nice that they profiled the fire chief, and his wife, Nadia, was there as well. But again, I don't know that the show itself, Walt, would have caused me to say, I want to go to Freddy's. It was nice. It was nice to see Northwest Indiana. They did a very nice job of portraying the area. Okay, sometimes these shows make it look like they're going into the armpits of hell, and they didn't do that. They did a nice job. That was one of the good things about the show.
Well, it's been a while since I've done Freddy's, but now that you mentioned the show, I think I'm going to get on over there.
There you go.
In terms of the Pierogi Fest, the parade starts
at 7 p.m.
At what?
7 p.m.
And it starts. It starts at.
It starts at Forsyth.
Avenue.
Really Forsyth Park goes down 119th Street down to Atchison. So we made this change some years ago. Instead of running the parade through the festival, which caused all kinds of nightmares and problems, we've been running the parade to the festival. So, and again, I'm not involved anymore. I was involved, of course, for all 31 years. And one of the co-founders and the founder of the parade, and chaired the festival, but it was time for me to step back and move on, and so I wish everybody the very best this weekend in organizing.
Any new wrinkles that you can talk about?
I don't know any of the details. I know that they got rid of the main stage, which I think was a mistake, because the main stage drew a lot of people and also drew a lot of sponsorships, but again, there's a new group in charge, and they're trying to do things their way, and they need to do that, and that's why I won't be out there this weekend. I want to give them the opportunity to take full control. So I will not be out there this weekend. I'll be one of the few people that won't be. Everybody else will be there, but I won't, simply because I want to respect the folks that are still working on it. And, again, somebody said to me the other day, well, you don't care about it anymore. And it's like nonsense. It's part of my legacy. Of course I want it to be successful. So I've certainly spent plenty of time talking to Joe Merzen and others from the chamber on what needs to be done. I gave them great instructions over the years on how to run that festival. But they also have to put their own touch on the festival as well. So I wish them the very best. Hey, Walt, we've got another caller. We're going to move on. Thanks so much for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call, and we have another caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? So did you watch Kitchen Nightmares last night?
I did not. Hey, I was actually, when I worked all day, and I didn't work the watermelon yesterday because that was a day off. And of course,
where's my watermelon? Where's my watermelon, Ron? I mean, I told you last year I had a guy bring a watermelon to a client of mine, and it was a great watermelon. Where's my watermelon?
come through 41st and Broadway today. I may not. I would probably won't be there because I got this guy. I gave him a job. He was looking for a job, so I gave him a job and gave him $100 a day. So he'll be there. And of course, I try not to ever be there. I'm 79 years old.
But they're great watermelons. Let me just say to listeners, I eat more watermelon. I eat more watermelon probably than anybody listening to this station right now. I eat watermelons constantly, and I have to say that is great watermelon.
And it's good for you. Watermelon is good for you.
It's very good for you. Yes, it is.
But let me just say this to you in terms of a watermelon. Anytime you go through 41st and Broadway, I normally I won't be there 90% of the time. I'm just there sometime to go and try to teach this guy and he's doing a good job of greeting the people and being even sometimes the public can be nasty. They could be nasty. They could come to you and I say, but still we don't do that. Mine is built on friendly to customers, because they don't have to come there. Okay,
sure,
they have to be friendly. And so I enjoy it. I talk to a lot of people. Yesterday I was talking to, and 50% of the people who come through there, you know where they're from? Illinois. They got Illinois tags. I said, what's going on here? So
because the word is out. Because Ron, the word is out. All right, the word is out that you have great watermelon. I mean, again, look, people,
that's true, but I'm just saying.
People don't understand. People don't understand. People don't understand that a good watermelon, the difference between a watermelon and a good watermelon, okay? And you have good watermelon. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so I'm just simply saying I enjoy talking to people. I really do. As you could tell, I love talk shows. I think talk shows is good. I say to politicians ought to listen. They ought to have somebody who's the mayor listening to what the public's saying because I learn stuff from just people calling in. And I don't think the talk shows ought to be negative. We attacking each other. We got enough issues going on in America. We don't need to do that.
Right. We got enough issues to attack. We don't have to attack each other. But let me ask you this, Ron. Ron, you've been involved in Northwest Indiana for a long time. We are losing another local bank. People's Bank is now going to be part of a bank out of Ohio. What do you think about that? Because it means that there's a lot of money and a lot of support for local events that's not going to be there anymore.
Well, you're going to see a whole lot. I know I bank with a couple of banks, and I know Centurion was a bank because I used to have a annual pre-Thanksgiving dinner when I feed over 500 people for 14 years, and Centurion was always good in giving me a substantial amount of money to feed people and goes. But I guess Centurion will be next, because what's happening. This. You know that they are buying up these companies like they're buying up radio stations. I don't know what's going on, but I'm saying, what are you going to do? You just have to try to move on,
Yeah.
People's Bank, like I said, I don't, but I got a number of friends at the bank, People's Bank, and it's just sad. But I think these people, like you said, that these charity organizations, if they give in to people who are in need as opposed to people in greed, let them continue to do that, that people are hurting out here, and that's one reason why I say it's no use in me getting in a fight with you, man. Let's deal with the NIPSCOs and stuff like that. People.
So let me bring something up. You just mentioned fights. Let me bring up something that I thought was really, really sad. We had a great Festival of the Lakes in Hammond this past week. I mean, great event. Lots of people out there. No problem on Wednesday. No problem on Thursday. No problem on Friday. And then Saturday evening, a free concert, largely driven toward youth, and there were all kinds of problems. In fact, for the first time in its history, Hammond actually had to call for backup to all of District 1 police agencies and a number of departments. Hobart, Munster, East Chicago, Lake County all responded because things got out of control because people were rushing the fence and trying to get in because it was at capacity and they weren't letting any other people in. And it was largely youth. And when you watch the videos and when you talk to people who were there, it was once again the problem with today's youth not having any respect for authority. Okay, there were first responders from the fire department that were there that said there was no respect for authority whatsoever. And I guess I know you didn't call in about this, but I've got to ask: how do we create respect amongst youth in America?
Well, I tell you, I think it has a lot to do with you have young people, babies raising babies. When I came up right now, if I did something wrong, hey, I got home. You could whip my rear end, and when I got home, I'd get another. It's a matter of respect. People, these young people, and I don't care what it has to do with pigmentation of skin, they're terrible. I condemn all of it. Whoever it is, it's terrible. I still don't understand. I could not answer why they're doing a lack of home training. I think would be number one.
Yeah, and I want to just point out, and you're right about that. It's babies raising babies, and it's a lack of training. I mean, if you go to buy a house these days and you're a first-time home buyer, they actually give you a course on home ownership, right? They give you a course on all kinds of things, but when it comes to when you get your girlfriend pregnant and you have a baby, there's no training on that one. And maybe there needs to be some training on parenting because that responsibility and that commitment just isn't there. And again, I'm not going to fault people. Some people say, "Oh, well, it's Hammond's fault for having these performances." No, it isn't. Okay, you could go, as one person told me, you could go old school and you wouldn't have the problem. That's right. You could have an old school performer, but then you're not going to draw the youth. And people, forget that we have to serve all age groups as well. And so what do we do?
Right now, I'm a landlord, and I have tenants, and I have a single woman. They often say, "Mama's baby, daddy's maybe." I shouldn't have put it that way, but that's really the case. It is. Yeah. Sometimes these young people go out and get impregnated, and if you're dealing with 2 or 3 guys, you don't know who. So that's when I use the term "mama's baby, daddy's maybe" sometimes, and that goes on. And I just think, like I said, I try to tutor and deal with these young people, and I talk to them. I give them an opportunity because, like I said, this guy that's working for me, he was in trouble some time ago. Young white guy, about 50 years old, and I love that guy. He's doing, like I told you, you go through there and sell watermelon. And then you say, Ron, you say, well, let me call Ron and see what he says, because I don't get messed. I don't lose my job. He treat me good. I told him, hey, just be friendly with the people. He said, I got so many tips today. I said, that's because you're treating the customers right.
Hey, Ron. Ron, we've got to go to a break, but I've got an idea. You should have like a local celebrity day at the watermelon field, and you can have Mad Mac out there selling watermelons for a day and see how that goes.
Okay.
All right. Take care, Ron. Thanks for calling. 845-1100 is the number to call, but we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to The Morning Call on WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, and don't forget, you can always listen to us, too, on the TuneIn app and YouTube Live. We'll be right back.
Need clean energy without the junk? I'm Jim Diedlow. I used to live on burgers, football, basketball, baseball. Now I'm gluten-free and more into biking, golf, and yoga. But I still need energy. That's why I love Paradise, developed by Emily D. Edwards right here in Cherville. My favorite is Paradise Packs Strawberry with gluten-free pretzels. Find it soon at Strachan Van Til or at spreadparadise.com.
Fox Point bursts with free concerts throughout July. Our Wednesday night concert series features Hairbangers Ball, Hello Weekend, All-American Throwbacks, and Keith Jackson and the Triple Dose Band. Enjoy the Northwest Indiana Symphony Orchestra on Friday, July 17th, and come back for Marrakesh Express and Echoes of Pompeii on Friday, July 31st. Fox Point in Lansing, Illinois is just minutes from I-8094 and parking is free. Visit foxpoint.org for our full schedule. That's point with an E, foxpoint.org.
The best just got better. Tech Credit Union is proud to celebrate being recognized with Best of the Region, Best CEO, and Best Banker. To celebrate, we're offering 3 special CD offers with rates up to 4.5% APY for a limited time. Visit techcu.org or stop by your nearest Tech Credit Union branch or call 800-276-8324 to learn more. Tech Credit Union, the better option for people and communities we serve. Member NCUA. Minimum deposit required. Offer subject to change. Visit techcu.org for complete details.
IBEW Local 697 electrical contractors bring the highest standard of electrical work to Lake County homes, schools, and businesses. From everyday fixes to once-in-a-lifetime builds, we don't just get the job done, we get it done right and up to the highest safety standards. When you need electrical work, hire the professionals who power Indiana. Powering Indiana, Lake County, bringing excellence to the job, creating a brighter future for our community.
There's something for everyone at HealthLink's Community Health Fair. Join us Tuesday, July 28th from 3:30 to 5:30 at the Boys and Girls Club in East Chicago for no-cost adult health care screenings, free food, games, prizes, and family fun. No-cost wild child checkups and sports physicals will be available the week of the event at HealthLink East Chicago and HealthLink East Chicago Harbor West. If possible, insurance will be billed. Call HealthLink at 888-580-1060 extension 5401 or 5901 to schedule your child's no-cost appointment today.
All right, folks, you're listening to Tom Dabertin, the morning call on WJOB. And guess what? We have lots of callers, so we're going to go right to the calls. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, MX. How are you?
Good. I'm. You've got big gonads, but the way you explain it, I hope I can say gonads on the radio.
You can say gonads on the radio, but we're not going to talk about mine.
That's why I like you. But you kind of explain things that are vague. When you say all the police departments in District 1, you should really name them off. Maryville, Whiting, County, Hammond, Highland. And they all had to show up to the Festival of Lakes. And we'll leave it there.
Well,
and on my side, I got trash.
Hold on, one thing. Here's the sad thing, okay? And again, I know there's a few people, especially on social media, who want to blame the city and the mayor for choosing the performer, but it's not. You had Jelly Roll out there, you had Offspring out there, you had all these other events, and you didn't have one incident, not one. Then you have an evening for younger people, and they act like fools and animals, and they ruin the event. So, everybody says, well, we've got to do something for the youth. So the city does something for the youth, and they ruined it. It wasn't the city that caused the problem. It was the people that attended.
No, it's not the city.
Right. It was the people that attended.
It's not the city. In no way am I picking on Mayor Tom, but...
No, because he bought you breakfast the other day, by the way.
That's right.
He owes me another one. That's right.
So, what Brian Miller told us that's another one of my heroes, Brian Miller.
Brian Miller is a great friend and a good guy, absolutely.
So what he told me at the police meeting and everybody else when we had trouble, he said, it's the music. He come out and said, play different music when they were having shootings at a bar. So, and then you mentioned free. Free and that kind of music got you where you're at today. But what I want to say, I put something out and got trashed, and I took it. And I knew this was coming up. It wasn't a team takeover. But what I have learned, and Ron did too, he's a steel worker like MX, is that for so many minors, you get the major. So what I mean by that, for so many fights, you're going to get a shooting like St. Thomas More. I'm just telling you.
Well, here, you had posted a video of, and I was just saying this to Lynette, there's a video that was out there of a woman, she's in her early 20s, the police have her shoved up against the fence, okay, and somebody says, what did you do? And she said, oh, I was in the fight with that big one, okay, and she's like almost bragging on video that she was in a fight, and I'm thinking to myself, do you want your mother and father to see this video? Do you really want? Do you want to disrespect your parents by being a sensation on social media, showing you sitting on the ground being handcuffed by the police and carried away because you jumped the fence, because you couldn't follow procedures, you couldn't follow instructions, and instead you just decided that you're taking whatever you want by going in there? That was the problem. It's the attitude that these individuals had the other day. I was told that Uber and Lyft had just unbelievable service over to there, that there were it was a mile long of people being dropped off, which means they were probably coming from outside the area. A lot of these individuals that caused the problem were not from Hammond. They were not from Whiting. They weren't from Highland. They weren't from Munster. They came from Illinois, and they came in and acted like animals. And the fact that they ended up in jail is exactly what they deserved. But again, I'm not going to fault the organizers, because the organizers spent a lot of time and money making it safe out there, and there wasn't one problem at Jelly Roll. There wasn't one problem at Offspring. There wasn't one problem at any other night but Saturday night, because these kids basically
act like animals. But your chief of police tells you it's the music, okay? And I'm not faulting Mayor Tom. Now, it was interesting. It was an interesting phone call from my buddy Ron, when he said babies, mamas, daddies, many.
Right.
This Jeannie Pereiro, this judge, when she said she's going to go after the parents, well, Ron just mentioned that. They don't know who the father is. She's living in a different world than I am, this Jeannie Pereiro. She's probably in a gated community, and she's running her mouth saying she's going to go after the mother and father. Well, the father's gone. After the first few minutes, he's gone. And you could thank that to the Great Society program.
Oh, I agree.
Ron's a good friend of mine.
I agree with you. Great Society was the beginning of the unraveling of the American home life. I agree with you, of the traditional family.
See, Ron, we put up a new crane for him, and he should say every time he calls in, I love MX. It was heated, cooled, all that temperature stuff, you know what I'm saying? He should call and say, I love MX.
Well, I heard him say that he'd give MX a free watermelon. I heard him say he was going to give MX a free watermelon.
Well, I don't take anything for free. I don't take free college. I don't take anything for free. Now, I would like them kids to go to college just to say, thank you, MX, for maybe I'll come out and weed whack your alley to show the appreciation. You're 70 years old and almost 70, and we'll weed whack your alley because you're old and you stink, and we're going to come out, we're the college-bound people, and we're going to weed whack your alley. I ain't never seen that yet, but I don't mind it. I still got the best. I don't got the best alley in Hammond. I got the best alley in the United States.
By the way, next week, I just want to point something out. Next week, you're older, but next week I close the gap because I turned 66.
But I'm still older than you. That's why I'm giving you all this wisdom about.
I'm closing the gap, my friend. Yeah. It's getting smaller.
You'll never reach me. and you'll never reach as many broken bones. And another thing, too, I can't go into Freddy's. I've been kicked out of there. And we had the most people ever.
I think Jim would gladly let you come back, MX. I'll talk to Jim.
No, he said he don't want no more MX parties there. We only have one every 5 years.
I remember your parties, but I think he'll let you come back.
You think he's gonna let me come back?
I think he's gonna let you. Look, he let Gordon Ramsay in there. He'll let MX come in there. Absolutely.
The only reason
I'll talk to Jim about it.
The only reason I was down on the mayor because I was getting shot at and I needed a shot spotter. And a good activist does what he's got to do to get a shot spotter. I didn't like making all them cartoons about the mayor. But you know what? I got my shot spotter, so now I backed off. But we had the most people ever, the hostess said. The parking lot was full. The side streets were full. It was a great party. But let's go on. See, actually, Ron is a closet Republican. I'm telling you. When he talked about, now this is his words, many baby mama, many daddies. That's kind of, you're talking like a conservative, Ron. But he should say, I love MX because he gave me that new crane. It's a big iron job, MX, big iron job when my buddy's giving new crane. But let's do this. I'm on Van Jones right now. So I was going to put a Trump hand on him 2028. And I was going to put him, oh, I'm crying, but I'm going to have him with a bunch of nurses. And they're going to say to him, yes, we know about progressive Democrats. Now, these progressive Democrats, now this is what's going on, and it's hard to understand. But Madani is a progressive Democrat, and it's going to come to Hammond. I've already got the heads up. The people on the council are afraid of these progressive Democrats.
Well, they're
now,
socialist
Kuziak.
Democrats.
Now, Kuziak
They're socialist Democrats,
yes.
okay?
Well, Kuziak should call in. Kuziak should, let it all go and call in and talk about, because he works his butt off. I see him running around town in his truck, and I beep at him. I don't think he knows it's me.
He probably
I change
does.
trucks all the time.
He probably
I
does know
change
it's
trucks
you. That's
all the
why
time
he's not
so
waving.
people don't follow me around. So anyways, these progressive new Democrats that the Democrats are scared of, Van Jones and Meyer got on the horn and says, Meyer said he's voting for J.D. Vance. Well, Rubio's going to be in there, too. Rubio's going to be president someday, but, you got to go with the chain of command.
Right.
And Vance is next, and then Rubio.
I don't know.
But my buddy, he's a closet Republican.
Rubio may surprise you. He may end up as the next presidential candidate of the Republicans. I'm not totally sure about
I've heard
that,
big union guys say they will vote for Rubio over Vance. And that's another thing you got big gonads. When you called out the unions, trade unions, to quit crossing the picket line, that's our problem right now. And I'm going to bring this up again. We always had right to work. And when I got on the bus, we went down there to support the trade unions. And from what I hear, I haven't seen it, but I do know from union people that the trade unions are crossing the picket line. BP, and it's got to stop.
I've mentioned that. I've
and
mentioned
you brought
that myself.
that out.
Yes, I've mentioned that myself. Hey,
that's why you got big gonads.
We're going to move on because we got a lot of callers. Thanks so much. 845-1100. We've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
What's up, Mr. Former Pierogi Fest?
Not much. Are you going to go get your watermelon from Ron?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to rush right out there right now. I got my flak jacket. I got a new one fitted. I'm ready to roll. Hey, listen, you can still go to Pierogi Fest, You're not going to interfere with anything.
Well, here's the problem. Now, wait a minute. Here's the problem. Here's the problem.
Can I finish?
If I'm there,
no,
because if I'm there, then everybody's going to think I'm still in charge. So I need to step back. That's why I'm not going to be there.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
You put on a sports shirt that you got from 1973, like the one you got on now.
Yeah, because I don't stand out in a crowd, right? Yeah, and I just blend in with everybody else out there except for the fact that I'm the tallest person there. Yeah, okay.
Relax.
All right,
relax,
anyway, what's on your mind?
But,
what's on your mind?
Listen, I need you guys to get out, call up one of these local cemeteries. I'll pitch in a hundo for sure. And I want a big rock in front of WJOB with the quote of history from Matlock. Mama's baby, daddy maybe. Could ever truer words been spoken? And he says he hears it all the time. And then when people call up and go, this isn't a problem with all of society. This is a problem in black America. You don't have any fathers. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. And these folks just run wild.
Look, he said it. He said it.
This wasn't the class from Munster High School at Saturday night. It wasn't all the white kids from Munster causing all the problem. Just look at the videotapes. This is a problem in black America. When you use the F word, the C word, use the word whore and hoe, when you demean women to absolute vessels of sexual promiscuity and you think that's cool, you have a problem. Because I'm checking Thursday night's videotapes, no problem.
No.
Friday night, no
problem.
And Saturday, when you run a business and you hire an embezzling thief to be your accountant, and 6 months later you go, I hired that embezzling thief to be my accountant, and I can't believe all the money's gone. When you invite a group like that to come to your town to put on a show, you invited trouble. You knew what you were getting. You made a bet on your community that you could protect them from bringing a criminal element into your town. And then that happens, and people go, oh, we didn't think that would happen. Quote the great Ron Matlock, mama's baby, daddy maybe. There is your problem.
All right. Hey, it's nice to hear you and Ron agreeing on something. Thanks, Mad Mac. 845-1100 is the number to call. We've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air. Hello?
Yes, am I in the air?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't called in years, so I got to get with the routine here, sir. But anyway, this is a little change of pace. What I'm going to cover here is a local artist, Mitch Markovitz, who started the South Shore poster campaign in the very late 90s, I think 97. Just a shout out to this gentleman who just passed, because everybody surely remembers all the great 1920s retro posters.
He did a great job. He did a great job. In fact, he did a poster that I was one of the sponsors of St. John the Baptist Catholic Church in Whiting, and yes, he was a phenomenal artist. Absolutely.
Yes, and the reason I say that is because I know Mr. McDermott was a big part of that campaign as well. But wow, I'm telling you, over the years, I don't think any outreach has just celebrated our Northwest Indiana community, regardless of its intention for the convention bureau. I think we all took such great pride in every, not just Mitch's posters, but there were several other artists. I think there was like 10 or 12 that Mitch also helped source over the years as well. He was involved in it to the very end. I think he was even making a few pictures recently. And I just wanted to give a little background about him. He was a former South Shore conductor for years, and that was how that all started. And his father was a painter. And if anyone has ever seen a show of his, I think they had a major one a few years ago in Hammond, of about 50 of his paintings. I'll tell you, I've been to the Art Institute in Chicago and many other galleries. I'm not particularly an arty person. I just enjoy it occasionally if I have time. But when you see his body of work, it's like any great artist, and just the pride of our area and just the creativity. I mean, you just see one on maybe possibly Hobart or Wolf Lake, and such. Just
the Whiting Library. He did so many posters. Of course, he did several at Pierogi Fest. So he was a phenomenal artist, absolutely, and it was part of the fabric of Northwest Indiana. And sorry to hear of his passing. That's for sure.
Right. Well, anyway, and if he can leave any legacy other than just his paintings, is in my mind would just be, and I know the region has grown so much, especially around St. John and South Lake County. But our North Lake County history with Hammond, East Chicago, and Gary with Southworks. I mean, there's so much deep history, and we're Chicagoland people in a sense too, because we're on the east side, and is really wedded together with Hammond. Industrially, we have so much to be proud of. But just a last shout out for Mitch, and God bless him for all that he did for our area.
Thank you so much for calling. I really appreciate it. I did not realize that Mitch had passed, but again, it's a big loss because you're right. He captured a certain part of Northwest Indiana that I think people otherwise might have overlooked. His posters were phenomenally popular, and it really became popular not just in Northwest Indiana. His artwork was popular throughout the United States, and people, for example, the Whiting Robertsdale Chamber used to sell his posters, and we would get calls from all over the United States, and people would call and ask, "Did we have this poster or that poster?" So he's going to be sorely missed. Thank you so much for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call. We've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Tom, good morning.
Good morning.
Moneybag Yo. That's the artist for the other night, right?
That was the artist for the other night. But again, is it the artist or is it the way people acted?
Tom, will you risk your show this morning if I read you Moneybag Yo's lyrics?
No, I won't. No, I won't. You're right. You can't read it. Okay, I think it's. I think the lyrics and some of the things that people say in modern entertainment, I don't particularly like. But I also understand that that's it's a change in taste. Okay, Mayor McDermott was on last week, and we were laughing during the break. Lynette heard it because he said to me, he goes, "Well, yeah, you wouldn't know a performer that basically is beyond the 1970s." I mean, that's where my tastes lie, the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But look, I get it. This is a popular act, but there were a lot of people that were there that didn't jump the fence, that didn't create problems, that didn't try and become violent. It's a group of individuals that show up at all these events. It's at beach takeovers and everywhere else that they're ruining events, and it's problemsome. And I think the fact that Ron Matlock pointed out that a lot of these parents basically they're children themselves. They're having kids, and those kids are now growing up without proper parental guidance, and we're basically reaping what we sowed.
Tom, I'm going to temper it for you, but this is some of it. Head and something to eat, that's all a thug and need. Mm-hmm. You get me higher than the prices of my weed. I'm dumb for fornicating. I'll use fornicating with you. I'll use that word.
Right.
Fornicate me like you miss me. My B don't like you. You've been fornicating in my home. Every N in the street. This S is toxic. Tom, what do you expect to get when you invite something like that? Would you invite that into your home, Tom?
You know what? Again, I wouldn't listen to them. I understand, though, that it's popular, and I go back to the 60s and 70s. I can remember uncles of mine who basically thought that rock music was absolutely abhorrent, and they felt that it was dangerous to American society. All right, I get their generational differences, but I can listen to that music without wanting to beat the hell out of you. Okay, and you can listen to that. And you and I will probably agree on this. We both walk away. We wouldn't stand there and listen to it, but it wouldn't cause us to go out and want to beat somebody up. It wouldn't cause us to want to jump a fence. It wouldn't cause us to be disrespectful to law enforcement. It wouldn't cause us to try and do some of the things that went on. And the problem is that this is just one example of many where this type of behavior it goes on, because these kids are basically being raised by, as Ron said, by babies themselves. They're being raised by 18-year-olds that don't know what they're doing and don't know how to take responsibility. And, I remember one person telling me before that when their child was 8, that they no longer felt that they were responsible for them, that the child had to raise themselves. What kind of stupidity is that in raising children? But that's the mindset that people have these days.
Tom, I tempered that for you, but would you like to know how many times in this song the B word is used, the N word is used, the F word is used? There's no way, Tom, that you can defend inviting that into your community and not expecting trouble. Secondly, how come, is it my understanding that you had to shut down the festival that evening?
Well, my understanding is that the performance went on. They shut down the entrance because of overcrowding. And that's when the problems began.
How did that not get any, if you're telling me that law enforcement from all over the area had to be called in, how did that not end up getting any publicity whatsoever? It baffles me.
Well, I'll tell
but
you,
again,
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. But you know what? I think part of it is the liberal slant of the media, that they're afraid to cover any of these kinds of stories. All right. So there was a local person on social media. I won't give out his name, but he had mentioned that one of the news organizations out of Chicago had grabbed his videos and that they were going to cover it on the 10 o'clock news, I think, on Sunday night. And basically, it was almost as if it didn't exist, the story. And once again, you've got the media out of Chicago that has become maybe somewhat insulated and used to these stories. But to me, takeovers and violence should be covered for what it is, and it should be reported on. And MX made fun of Janine Pirro when she says she wants to hold parents accountable. But you know what? I don't think that's a bad idea. I think we should hold parents accountable. I think we have to do something. Look, we spend thousands upon thousands of dollars a year on education in this country, and in many cases it's failing. All right? Look at Hammond schools. Maybe we need to spend part of that money on educating kids on what they need to do, since their parents aren't educating them on basic respect for law enforcement and basic respect for property and for individuals. Maybe we need to do it in the schools. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I know I'm troubled by it. And I do appreciate the call, but we've got to take a break. Go ahead. One last comment. Go ahead.
Were things so bad that there will be lawsuits from this?
I don't think so. I think there's always somebody there's some ambulance chaser that'll show up and claim that they're going to represent somebody that was out there. But I think for the most part, I don't think there will be lawsuits. I think there's plenty of people that are going to be appearing in court, and they deserve whatever they get. Hey, thanks for the call.
Again, you can't invite this into your home and not expect problems.
All right. 845-1100. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to The Morning Call on WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM. Don't forget the TuneIn app and YouTube Live. We'll be right back.
It's the simplest expression. The smallest thing that changes everything. A smile. So easy. A smile lights it up. Apologizes. And welcomes unconditionally. Because the shortest distance between two people is a smile.
Thank you.
Strachan Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
Life's biggest challenges don't come with a warning. When legal issues arise, whether it's a car accident, personal injury, criminal charge, or representing you before municipal boards, you need a trusted advocate on your side. At Westland & Bennett, we listen first because your story matters. We provide strategic, personalized legal solutions to protect your rights, your freedom, and your future. Peace of mind starts with a conversation. Call 219-440-7550 today for a free consultation.
From the gas in your car to the heat in your home and the roads that you drive on, our work powers daily life. We are USW Local 71, the proud men and women of the Whiting Refinery. We're not just refinery workers. We're your friends and neighbors, raising our families here, shopping in the same stores, and cheering in the same stands. USW Local 71, powering the region because we are the region.
I'm a victim of being ran over by a semi while I was flagging. The person wasn't paying attention and they hit me with their vehicle.
I seen a accident where we were the first people to walk up, and that picture will never leave my mind.
I've seen people get hit before. It's been horrible.
Construction zones on roadways and bridges are more than just cones and equipment.
They're the workplace for thousands of dedicated union laborers.
Everybody has a family that they need to get back home to, so please just pay attention to us out here while we're working.
We all have family, and I know it's a pain in the ass, but we're trying to make the roads better for y'all.
We're doing this for everyone.
We're hardworking Hoosiers, just like you, and we all want to make it home safely.
People would just take a couple seconds to pay attention.
Be aware where we're at, where the cone zones are at. We're all in this together, and we're all just trying to be safe.
This is Brian Short, Business Manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
All right, we're back, and you're listening to WJOB 1230 AM and 104.7 FM in Hammond, Indiana, and it's Tom Dabertin. It's great to be here with you this morning. We're going to be here till 8:30 today, till 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Don't forget, beginning at 6:45 tomorrow morning, I will have Mark Chase, the executive editor of the Times of Northwest Indiana, as my guest. So be ready to call in and ask him some questions about the Times and what's going on with local media. So going to have him on tomorrow. I'd love to have Paul Goddard on one of these days, but Paul points out that his normal job, he works from 5 a.m. until 1, so it's going to be pretty hard to get him on. But one of these days, I'm going to get Paul on as well. 845-1100 is the number. We've got full phone lines, but let me just give you a real quick update on traffic. Klein Avenue continues to be slow in the construction area. Otherwise, 8094, I-65, and the toll road all look pretty good. Looking at over the line into Illinois, not bad this morning until you get to the Ryan, and it's just a nightmare. There is a backup, and it's stretching back now past 51st, so be careful there. Actually, the Bishop Ford, I-57, 294 all look pretty decent. When you get into the circle, you're going to have problems. And then you're going to have problems on the Eisenhower, the Stevenson, and the Kennedy. With that, let's go to weather.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 67 degrees with highs of 72 and lows of 59. It's going to be partly sunny today, and then tomorrow on Thursday we'll be having highs of 77 and lows of 59. Should be mostly sunny and pleasant. And then Friday we'll be having highs of 80 and lows of 61. And it should be mostly sunny and pleasant.
All right, and there you have it. 845-1100. We'll go right to the callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Why, good morning, Tom. I always enjoy the program.
Hey,
I got to tell you this. I don't know. It's good to hear your voice. And, hey, did you know last night on national TV they had Freddy's Steakhouse?
Yes, we talked about this earlier. Kitchen Nightmares, yes. And it was probably it was on. Yes, we talked about that as well. Bernie was on there. He told me off the air that he got served by Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay did bring out his steak to him. That was kind of nice. So it was nice to see Ham and Fire well represented on the show last night. I thought the show was fine. I don't know that it would necessarily cause me to want to run out and go to Freddy's Steakhouse. I like Freddy's anyway, so I would go there. But I don't know that the show basically would say, wow, that's a destination that I want to go to. I mean, Safety Steve, what do you think?
You know what? You're absolutely right. I will say this, though. It did give Hammond recognition.
Yeah.
Which is, Hammond's becoming a very popular place now, media, national-wise. But, yeah, it's been so long since I've been to Freddy's, but I don't, it's not a destination that if I'm going to come to Hammond, I think if I'm going to go get a good steak, I'm going to, go to, probably the Horseshoe Casino, which I think they have very good, or they used to have, I don't know now, but they used to have a great steakhouse there. But there's a lot of other choices, and to me, it almost leaves, I would think it'd leave a stigma of false advertisement. We got USDA prime meat, and that they got buying their meat from Canada. So, boy, I tell you what, that opened your eyes a little bit.
Well, it did, and the scene where Gordon Ramsay goes out to the walk-in freezer and throws everything out on the ground, that didn't sit real well with me either. But it was a nice promotion for Lynn's Meats out of Hammond. I mean, that was a very positive part of it, and I thought it depicted Hammond overall quite positively. So I don't think it was a bad show, but I don't know, Steve. It's kind of a worn out script, right? I mean, they go in, you've got a struggling restaurant.
Absolutely.
The celebrity chef comes in, or the celebrity comes in, makes a lot of noise, screams and hollers, and turns things around. That's the script that they use day in and day out for every one of these shows. And after a while, it's like, oh yeah, it's like binging on Bar Rescue. I mean, I used to enjoy that show, but now I can basically turn the channel, because after you've seen 5 episodes of Bar Rescue, you know exactly what's going to happen in every single other episode.
Absolutely. And sometimes you wonder how much of that was really scripted and how much was it real. And almost some points it almost looked like it was almost like make believe. It was like, that couldn't really happen at a place.
Well, look,
like
I know
so
Jim. I know Jim, and Jim is not. Jim's a really good guy, and they made him out to be, like, oh, he couldn't make up his mind, and he was a little reserved, and that's Jim's a very nice guy. When you walk into Freddy's, Jim is there. He's always greeting customers. He always comes by and says hello. So I think that's part of the script. Like, oh, Jim doesn't know how to greet the customer, but we're going to teach him. It's like, well, Jim's been greeting customers for years. I mean, he's a very affable, friendly guy. So I don't know why they made it sound like, Gordon Ramsay's going to teach Jim on how to greet customers today. It's like, oh, come on. He already knew how to do that.
And he's been there 20 years. So obviously he was doing something right, because his customers were still going there. But I was amazed that I wonder, dude, how do they get the customers to come in? Are those really customers that were already there, or did they put out some kind of little flyer? Hey, we're promoting Freddy's Steakhouse. Come on this day and we'll get you on TV.
So they actually invited they invited a number of those people to be on. They invited a number of those people to be on. Okay. I talked to a few of them, and they said, yeah, they got invited to be on and to be there. So. Again, it's the producers and show staff basically drove around Hammond and found different individuals and stopped at some of the municipal offices and said, "Hey, would you like to come on?" And so they got the word out. They did a good job. Again, it wasn't a bad show. It wasn't as bad as that show, the episode after with the guy in Ohio, the 4-star diner, and Gus. I mean, they made him out to be a complete buffoon and idiot. So they they didn't do that to Jim. They didn't do that to Freddy's Steakhouse. It was a little bit more reserved, and I'm glad to see that. But again, publicity's publicity. I guess doesn't hurt.
Right. I tell you what, they did a good job of just shooting some locations in Hammond.
Yeah.
Because when I came home from work, my wife said, "Hey, there's this Midwestern restaurant. I think it's Hammond." And I was kind of watching the early lead up to it. I thought, wow, that's some pretty good videography, because at first I was looking, I go, look, is that somewhere in like Nebraska or Iowa? And then all of a sudden I was like, wow, they did a really good job of prepping you to get ready to see the show. So I like that part. Yeah. And of course, anytime that Hammond can get some good publicity.
And by the way, speaking of good videos, the video that you posted of you singing in Marquette was quite entertaining as well. And you have a great voice, and you're a great entertainer. And tell you what, the next time you sit in with me, you're going to bring your guitar and you're going to play.
You know what? Absolutely. And I do have a song that I made for Jed. I got to get it over.
Well, we don't want a song made for Jed. We want a song made for Tom. We don't want songs made for Jed.
Hey Tom, I could definitely make you a good song.
That sounds
the
great.
Whiting Kid started with Pierogi Fest, and speaking of Pierogi Fest, I totally get why it would be hard for you to go there, because Tom, I know you, and I know people. The minute you were to walk the streets of Whiting, the first thing you get, oh hey Tom, come over. They're not doing this like you used to do. Hey Tom, I know exactly, and it is better to, something like you said, step back and let somebody else take it. They're trying to take the baton and go with it. So I totally get why it'd be hard for you to go back.
I appreciate.
You've done a great job with that.
I appreciate the comments, Steve. Thanks so much for the call. Thanks. Have a great day. 845-1100. Got some more callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Tom.
Yes.
what do you think about the Secretary of War, not Secretary of Defense, drunk, basically talking about billions of dollars that he wanted to do to support this war? I thought that we have a no president war. I haven't heard these Republicans.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I am very frustrated with what's going on in Iran. I think that it is a problem that's not going to go away soon. You've got two choices at this point. Either you walk away, which will embolden them so you really can't, or you go and you bomb the daylights out of them, which is what we're doing, which is going to take a long, long time. And either way, we're going to be in a conflict with them for a lot longer than anybody thought. And the end result is not going to be what we were hoping for. We're not seeing the regime change. We're not seeing the quick in and out conflict that was described. And I think it's a huge, huge mistake, and I think it is a quagmire that we're getting drawn into.
That's what the commander in chief said. It's going to end. And the people say, no way. You kick my rear end, I'm gonna kick your rear end. That's what's going on.
You know what? Look, even think about back the tape up, Ron, just for a minute, and think about in the 1990s when George H.W. Bush was president. Not George W., but H.W. Bush. And you had the invasion of Kuwait by Iraq. And we mustered a massive armada and massive support from allies, and we went in and we retook Kuwait, right? But it took 10 or 12 more years to get rid of the leader of Iraq, because Saddam Hussein basically sat there and threatened us for another 10 or 12 years before George W. Bush, the son, finally took him out. And it went on, and it was a kind of a, not a Cold War, but an intermediate war, because there was still action going on periodically with Iraq for that next decade. And I think that in Iran, we're kind of headed in the same direction. The good news, if there is any good news out of it, is that most of the Middle Eastern countries have figured out ways to basically truck or pipe oil from outside the Strait of Hormuz. So most of those countries are, in fact, oddly enough, Syria is now agreeing to allow pipelines through their country, so you'll be able to get the oil from the Mediterranean. I think that's good for the long term, but I think the war is a mistake, and we're just stuck. We're stuck in a quagmire.
The thing about that, too, I served in the Vietnam War, and what's going to happen right now? Okay, you bum the hell out of Iran, then you're going to take billions of dollars to build it back up like it did in Saigon. They call it's Ho Chi Minh City today. It used to be Saigon, but it turned into the communists, and we put billions of dollars back in there. So the Democrats did it then, and so the Republicans are doing the same damn thing now.
Yeah, it's not getting us where we need to be as a nation. I agree with you, Ron. This was a mistake.
We need to get away from Democrat or Republican. They got both both parties have got some good people, but they got some bad people. And Donald Trump happened not to be a good one. Okay.
Well, I'll agree with you with the assessment that there's some bad on both sides of the aisle, and I think it's just getting worse. And I think my concern about some of these social democrats right now coming into office. I mean, look, some of the things that they're running on is just insane, and it's not going to work. And they're blaming everybody else for their problems. And, you and I've talked before, and you even this morning, your comments about the problems with youth. Look, people have to be responsible for their actions, and they have to be responsible for their kids. And some of these social democrats have the idea that government is going to be responsible for everybody, and that never works either. But I appreciate the call. Yeah. Thanks so much. 845-1100, and we've got another caller, and then we're going to go to another break. Good morning. You're on the air.
How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
All right. You're talking about this festival of lakes. Mm-hmm. I haven't been there in years, but going by there this last weekend, looking at the families going into the carnival, that kind of thing with the little kids. It's a beautiful venue. It's great.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's summer times don't last long enough around here. and you got families there building memories, taking their kids to the carnival. It's all. I think it's a great thing. I think the problem comes in when you book these different acts. I cannot see Pierogi Fest booking an act like that at Pierogi Fest. Could you?
No, but Pierogi Fest, of course, focuses on, ethnicity and ethnic roots and that type of thing. But look, again, I don't know that you can blame the act. I think you have to blame the actors, which are the youth that were out there. There were plenty of youth that were out there on Friday night at Offspring. All right, there were 15, 16, 18,000, and there were no problems at all. Not one fight, not one problem. But on Saturday night, you get these youth takeovers that go on. I mean, you and I live up in Robertsdale. There was a threat of a youth takeover at Wahala Beach a few weeks back, and they shut down the beach. This kind of stuff has to stop. There's got to be consequences. And I agree with Janine Pirro that you've got to hold the parents responsible too.
I was curious that the night that happened to find out what kind of an act they had there, and I just had the feeling that in this big city like Hammond with 75,000 people or so, when you go to book these acts, parts of the community will say, well, if you don't book this act, well, you're discriminating against us. We want.
Well, hold on, though.
We want to see.
Hold on, because I talked to a couple of individuals who were African American, who said to me that the city could have gone old school, and the point is that it wasn't booked based on race and ethnicity. It's based on popularity. So, you're not totally correct on that, because they didn't book it because it was an act that appealed to African American youth. It's an act that appeals to a lot of youth. There were a lot of white youth out there. There were a lot of Hispanic youth out there. The problem is that there's an element amongst today's youth that ruin everything for everyone, and that's what happened.
Well, that's true, but again, in a city like Hammond with 75,000 people versus a Whiting, it's if you're going to go ahead and give access to different entertainment to all the different facets of the community, it's a lot tougher to do in a city like Hammond than it is Whiting. I think that there was some that's probably went into the thought process when they went ahead and picked these acts. But that's where I differ with you in some of this stuff, because in some of these acts, like that one caller you had a while back talk about some of the lyrics they use, you're going to appeal to somebody that's of a different mindset, going to see something like that than you are a different act. It's just a fact of life.
Okay.
I mean,
all right, but
hold on, reality.
Hold on a sec, because if you listen to some of the suggestive lyrics of songs from the 60s and 70s, I mean, listen to the lyrics of the Rolling Stones. Okay, listen to the lyrics. Those were
Louie.
Right, and those were very suggestive lyrics, and it didn't cause violence. It's the problem.
Right, but it was a different. You're talking 50 years ago. It was a different mindset. Culture, the society itself has changed. It's gotten overall more violent.
Right,
Look
and
at
that's
the
where
shooting we just had in Lincoln Park the other night.
Well, and that's where my point is that, you can blame it on the lyrics, you can blame it on the music, but ultimately it's society. We're not doing enough. We're not doing enough to address the ills of society. We basically allowed a generation of kids to be raised, as Ron Matlock said, by babies. Babies being raised by babies is what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And now these kids have become adult, and they just think they can do whatever they want because they got away with anything they wanted. And maybe there's not much hope for that group, but hopefully there's some opportunity for the future that we don't allow this to repeat and replicate, because if we do, we're going to have huge problems in this country. We really are.
But when you have acts that actually promote these kind of thought ideas way more aggressively than it did even when you and I were kids, we got to admit that there's a facet, there's something. This is a component of the kind of thing that just attracts that kind of crowd. That's why you had a riot one night, not the other night.
Well, here, you know what? I'll say this. You remember 1977? Okay.
Disco Demolition?
No. I was I was going to say though, I can remember, for example, in 1977 there were a number of concerts over in Soldier Field. All right.
Right.
And if you think about one in particular that played there, it was basically Led Zeppelin was playing, and I wanted to go to the concert. My friend Rick and I and Mark and a bunch of others, we were all going to go to a concert. And my mom said, "You're not going to that concert because I heard that at Led Zeppelin concerts, they pass around topless girls in the crowd. You're not going." Okay, well,
Sign me up.
Well, yeah, I tried everything I could do to get to that concert, but I didn't get to go. So, again, times have changed, though. There was more. Look, I didn't do things because I didn't want to embarrass or disappoint or hurt my mother. And that's how you were raised, and I was raised, and a lot of others. And I said that during break to Lynette this morning, and she said, "You're right. She's 25 years old, but she still thinks about her actions as it relates to her parents." And that's been lost on a big part of today's youth, and that's problematic.
This isn't anything new. I remember the Ultima California concert by the Stones, where the guy, they had a riot, basically a riot, and they had the Hells Angels for security. Some guy got stabbed to death or something, and so this isn't anything new. But even the Stones said whenever they play "Sympathy with the Devil," weird things happen. So it just seems like we're trying to not acknowledge the elephant in the room.
Right. It's not just the acts. So it's the acts basically serve maybe as a fuse, but it's a bigger problem with society, and that's my point. Hey, thanks so much for the call.
It is. In the long run, it is. But why would you want to actually expose people to that in your community if you didn't have to? Like I said, I can't see Pierogi Fest booking an act like that.
All right. Hey, thanks so much for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the Morning Call on WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM. We'll be right back.
I'm Pastor Eric Boone, pastor of the Tree of Life Church here in the great city of Gary, Indiana. The Notre Dame Credit Union. Go beyond and above to make sure that we are in position to make that greater impact. Listen, this credit union is one of a kind, and I'm looking forward to the future because I know that we will continue to do greater things together, and I'm forever grateful for a credit union like this.
Visit NotreDameFCU.com.
Hey Region, I'm T, and I grew up in East Chicago, went to college in Gary, worked out of Munster, and raised my family in Crown Point. I'm Region to the core. I created Region Hot Sauce, the flavor of the region. Added to chicken, fish, pizza, eggs, and more for the perfect blend of heat and flavor. Visit RegionHotSauce.com for a complete list of locations or to order direct. Region Hot Sauce, the flavor of the region.
I'm a victim of being ran over by a semi while I was flagging. The person wasn't paying attention and they hit me with their vehicle.
I seen a accident where we were the first people to walk up, and that picture will never leave my mind.
I've seen people get hit before. It's been horrible.
Construction zones on roadways and bridges are more than just cones and equipment. They're the workplace for thousands of dedicated union laborers.
Everybody has a family that they need to get back home to, so please just pay attention to us out here while we're working.
We all have family, and I know it's a pain in the ass, but we're trying to make the roads better for y'all.
We're doing this for everyone.
We're hardworking Hoosiers, just like you, and we all want to make it home safely.
People would just take a couple seconds to pay attention.
Be aware of where we're at, where the cone zones are at. We're all in this together, and we're all just trying to be safe.
This is Brian Short, business manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
Have you ever considered becoming an iron worker? Local 395 is now accepting applications for their apprenticeship program. Go to ironworkers395.com. Look under the training section, click on apprenticeship, and scroll down to the application. You must be 18 years old, have a high school diploma or GED, and you must be physically able to perform the work of the trade. Find out more by calling the apprenticeship school in Lake Station at 219-962-7675 or visit ironworkers395.com.
All right, we're back. It's the morning call on WJOB. Day one, don't forget, this is a 2 for a week. So every couple of weeks we do 2 shows, and this is one of them. So I'll be on again tomorrow. And we've got a couple of callers, so let's go right to the phone calls. Good morning, you're on the air.
I can recommend an event that is ongoing throughout the summer, and I don't think they have suggestive music and so forth. It's called the Bristol Renaissance Fair. Have you ever attended that?
I know exactly what the Bristol Renaissance Fair is and been to the Renaissance Fair before, and I agree with you. There's not a lot of suggestive lyrics in any of the music, you're right. Or in the costumes, for that matter.
Right. It's to show off the culture and the costumes and so forth of middle-aged Europe. And it's when I had kids in the house, I took them several times. I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of activities, very much a family event. There's food, there's music, there is dancing. Kids really liked it.
But
and,
Walt, let me ask you this.
Yep.
Let me ask you this. Could you imagine the influence that these lyrics we're talking about would have on, like, Henry VIII? He would, yeah. I mean, again, look, it's not the lyrics, it's the lack of responsibility, it's the lack of accountability. That's the problem,
Sure.
all right? Because the lyrics don't drive kids to do teen takeovers at beaches. It doesn't drive teen takeovers in stores and restaurants and intersections in Chicago. What it is a lack of accountability and a lack of responsibility that's allowing some of the things to go on. When you look at the teen violence in Chicago right now, and you look at the problems that go on, it's because no one's being held accountable, and they have a buffoon of a mayor who basically doesn't want to take any accountability and basically wants to make every excuse possible. That's the problem.
Well, it's the Bristol Renaissance Fair goes to September 7th, and there's admission. It's not cheap, but you can get a reduced price for the tickets at Menard's hardware stores.
Menard's actually doing something. Menard's actually doing something nice. Is amazing because we were talking about the banks before and the loss of local commitment. Menard's is the worst retail establishment in Northwest Indiana when it comes to lack of support of anything. They don't give 5 cents to anybody for anything. Show me where they have donated to any activity in Northwest Indiana. They don't. John Menard says he gives low prices and that's all that matters and people don't care. They have a box right now in the Hammond Menard's, some sort of food drive, but they're not sponsoring it. They simply have the box. And Menard, actually, if you go on and you read John W. Menard's views, he says, yeah, we'll put a box in our store if people want to donate, but we're not donating to it. So, not my favorite realtor, retail operation in Northwest Indiana.
Well, the problems of public rioting by youth, I mean, there's a family issue. The rise of the single parent family has been played a major role in that. But also, it's a political thing. The Democrat wokists, for example, they've wormed their way into the cultural institutions of the United States, Hollywood, including, for example, the Smithsonian Museum in D.C. That's run by the federal government, and the Congress is running a series of hearings, and they had the director of the Smithsonian dedicated to American history, and Representative Gill from Texas read to this director directly a material from official documents of the Smithsonian, in which they noted that being polite is indicative of white supremacy. Do you
Well,
think
look,
that
those people are morons. Okay, they're just morons. Let's just be honest. All right, people who come up with those kinds of nonsensical arguments are morons. They're idiots. They're fools. There are plenty of people. In fact, I was reading a story this morning when I first woke up that part of the reason why social democrats appeal to white educated individuals, they largely appeal to white educated individuals who basically are frustrated in their careers. So in other words, because you got a college degree, let alone a graduate degree, but haven't been able to do anything with your career, you're blaming it on everybody else, and therefore all of a sudden they're embracing this idea of socialism. I mean, these people who sit before Congress and talk about white supremacy this and white supremacy that, they're just idiots. They're morons. And you know what? I don't give them the time of day. And when I hear them talk, I change the channel.
Well, the wokeist Democrats, they've gone so far as to suggest that promoting competency in math is racist. It's a racist value. It's just there's no limit to the craziness of this crowd, and it's dangerous because they worm their way into important institutions, and they're protected to a significant degree. Now, last night I was watching News Nation, which is kind of a centrist cable network, actually established out of WGN and TV in Chicago, and they were interviewing a lady by the name of Evan Barker. The interviewer was Katie Pavlich, and this Miss Barker was involved with the socialist Democrat crowd, and she was very. She made the point that this crowd is getting heavy donations from wealthy Democrats, billionaire types. Another thing is she pointed out is that within the ranks of the Social Democrats there are cells that are out and out communistic, not whereas they try to convey the idea that the socialism they're talking about is Scandinavian style socialism. Although the Scandinavians are, in recent years, they've been very emphatic in saying, no, we're not socialists. We have rich social welfare benefits, but we are a capitalistic society that it's the engine that pays for all this social welfare programs. But we are definitely not socialists.
But look, again, you've got a guy like Memdani in New York who basically, I look at him and say, you know, he's full of himself. He is an opportunist. He talks out of both sides of his mouth. You know, he's a good speaker. I'll give him that. But his views are ridiculous. They're next to insane. And then you've got the biggest buffoon mayor in America right next door in Chicago, and these individuals basically have this view that everybody else is responsible for America's problems. Everybody else is the cause of an individual's problems, and they're going to basically level the playing field because they weren't, you know, they're appealing to the group of people who weren't able to be successful. Look, you fought in Vietnam, you served this country, you came back, you got an education, you had a career, you were in education. You didn't go and blame the government and blame everybody else for every time you had a setback in your career. All right. I didn't blame everybody else when I had setbacks in my career. And I just think it's a shame that we've got a society these days who are looking to blame somebody else for their failures. Sometimes it's your own problem. Hey, Walt, thanks again. 845-1100, got another caller. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning. I wasn't going to call in, but I'm going to talk about the police and our younger youth.
Mm-hmm.
Us older people, which our age is what we are, our classic cars, we go to places and have a burger, shake and stuff, talk about our old cars. Portage, Indiana has done something wonderful. They tried to get me to come out and film it. Portage did a nice thing now, which the Portage Police Department is there to make sure things go safe, but they're letting the younger youth now in their new cars that aren't good classic cars do burnouts. But the only reason the police department is there is to make sure they do it safely and have a fun time. And then they have concerts or some big stuff in Portage. I've seen people's pictures of being at these concerts in Portage. But the police department was only there is to make sure they have a good time and do it in a safely manner. And that's why I thank the police departments for trying to do the best that they can to control and secure and keep everybody safe at all of these events around this area. You know, that's what I like about the police departments is they do the best they can to keep everybody safe, you know.
Well, look,
what do you
I think that you know, the idea of doing a controlled burnout, it makes sense. I think it's you know, it's fine. It's you know, it's kind of like you know, the old days we used to go to Clark Field and you pulled a donut in the snow, right, in the parking lot. And that was popular until one individual slammed into the base of a light pole and ruined his car. I mean, so doing it in a controlled fashion probably makes some sense. I don't see any problem with it. I would rather have it be under the control and under the guise of the police than have them do it on my my neighborhood street. So I don't see any problem with that. I think, again, kids are kids, and kids are inquiring. They're inquisitive. They want to do things. They want to push the line sometime. And I think a controlled situation that Portage is doing makes a lot of sense.
I used to, when I was younger and living at home and going to school and doing things on the weekend with my friends, used to always go skating at the old Moose Lodge, which is Oak Ridge Skating Rink, which is the Moose Lodge. And or on 6 and 51, there used to be a game room and pinballs and pool tables. And there was a guy that owned it. We used to call him Barney Fife because he was one of these persons, you come in there, you have a good time. You cause a problem, he takes you out the door and says, don't come back until you can act good. And sometimes he wouldn't let those kids come back in, but then he would let them come in, and those kids would realize, I can't hang around with my friends because I don't know how to behave, and they would come back and behave. It. He just was kind of firm but good, but, you know, the kids now, you know, there's not a lot of places around here for the kids to go roller skating or
they don't want to do some of those things that we did, and that's okay. There's other things. They're not into roller skating and that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But kids need to be kids, but they also need to have some accountability, and there has to be some respect built in. And the problem that we have is we have a whole generation of kids that were raised by kids, and they don't understand accountability, and nobody's taught them that. And again, I'm not going to blame the school systems. The school systems have enough on their plates, but somebody's got to step in and teach some accountability and some respect, because it just doesn't exist with a whole group of individuals, and that's what's sad, Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that on that point, you know, because everybody's trying to do the best thing.
Think of the stupid stuff that you did as a kid, okay? I can remember going out. I can remember going out and you know, everything from, you know, spinning tires to, doing all the stupid stuff, racing down streets. I mean, those were all things that we shouldn't have done, right? But there were limits. There were limits on us because we also didn't want to embarrass our families. We didn't want to embarrass our parents. So there were limits, and I think that's what's missing.
We would, when I was young, we used to, two things I did. Well, one, I got caught because the guy came around the block and caught us doing it. But we used to, as kids, you know, and we could have gotten in trouble. We could have gotten hurt, but then we learned we needed to stop it. But in the wintertime, hang on a bumper and go sliding down the road while cars moving. Remember that deal?
Sure. Look,
we used to hang above this car wash. We were throwing snowballs at cars going down Ridge Road, and we thought it was cool until one of the cars saw where we were at, come around the corner. He didn't call the police, but boy, We learned.
I will.
We don't do that
I will
no
top
more.
that. Throwing snowballs at traffic. I'll top that. And I won't name who it was, because she might be listening, and she's a friend of mine, and we won't mention who it was. But she worked at Dunkin' Donuts, and she used to let me know when the donuts would be ready, and they had the custard filled, and I'd stand along Indianapolis Boulevard and throw it up in the air, and it would land on the windshield of a car, and the person would pull over and be screaming and hollering, and I'd say, no, I didn't throw anything. That was a giant bird. You didn't see that bird. And, I mean, they'd be standing out there looking for the bird, okay, because the donut would explode on their windshield. I mean, we did a lot of stupid things. But this day and age, when, let's put it this way. When the police showed up, okay, if they would have shown up, we would have admitted our mistakes. We would have been apologetic. We would have been polite. We would have been respectful. This day and age, you watch those videos from the other day, or you watch the videos out of Chicago, and they're basically, it's all out mayhem with the police and everybody else. Nobody cares. Nobody takes responsibility, and that's the problem. Hey, thanks for the call. 845-1100. 845-1100 is the number to call. We want to take another call, or we want to go to a break? We'll take another call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Tom, I got to call back.
Sure.
You're glossing over this, and you just used the word accountability.
Yep.
And yet you have not mentioned the city of Hammond inviting this ghetto trash act in that invites that crowd.
Again, would I have invited that group? No. Okay. But at the end of the day, there are plenty of locations and there are plenty of venues that have whatever his name is, I don't even know, Moneybag Yo? Is that the name? Did I say it right? That have those, those performers. Again, it's not the performer as much as it is the lack of accountability and responsibility of the individuals. It is, okay, because there's no performers. There were no performers over at Wahala Beach a few weeks ago. There were no performers at some of the other beaches in Northwest Indiana. And it had nothing to do with a performer going out there. When you see some of the violence that goes on in Chicago, these teen takeovers of neighborhoods and of intersections, there's no performer there. So you can't simply blame the lyrics of a song because, again, as I pointed out with some other listeners this morning and callers, if that's the case, then why didn't violence break out with the Rolling Stones? Why didn't violence break out with Led Zeppelin and a whole group of other performers that we used to go and listen to and see perform, and we didn't have the violence that we have today? There's a lot more at risk than just the performer. I get your point, okay? I get your point, and no matter what it is, you're going to keep on pointing out the performer. I get that, but that is not the only reason why violence broke out, is it? Answer that question. Is it simply because of the lyrics by Moneybag Yo that violence broke out, or is it a bigger issue? Tell me that.
I'm going to give you credit. You're smarter than this. You're making your own argument. You won't admit that the city of Hammond, had they not had this act, is there a lesser chance of violence? Yes, it is. So hold the city of Hammond responsible. You're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. And by inviting this act and their lyrics and their baloney, you're condoning that activity.
No,
Tom,
because,
come on.
No, because once again, you like to simplify things, and everything is simplified, right? It's just simple. If you didn't have Moneybag, wait a minute,
Tom.
wait, let me talk. If you didn't have Moneybag Yo, then there wouldn't be a problem, right? Well, there would be some other problem, and I'm talking about not just what happened at Festival of Lakes. I'm talking about what is happening all over this nation when it comes to youth violence. I'm talking about that issue, okay? It's a bigger issue than the lyrics by some probably overpaid, over-glorified celebrity. I agree with you on that, okay? I get the point about the fact that, well, if Moneybag Yo hadn't performed, you might not have had this issue. My point is that it still doesn't erase the problem that exists. It just goes on and occurs in some other fashion. And that's the bigger problem. That's my point. You can say, well, we'll just ban Moneybag Yo, and then there won't be any problems in America. There won't be any youth violence. There won't be any problems. There won't be any takeovers. And that's where you're wrong, okay? You're focused on one incident, and my focus is on the bigger picture. Thanks again for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the Morning Call on WJOB. We'll be right back.
Tech Credit Union supports the essential role of union labor in building strong communities. That's why we offer hassle-free banking, financial empowerment, and a commitment to your success. Save for the future, handle life's challenges, and trust a partner that stands by hardworking union members. Tech Credit Union, the better option for you and your money. Visit techcu.org or call 800-276-8324. Tech Credit Union, supporting union families every step of the way.
I'm a victim of being ran over by a semi while I was flagging. The person wasn't paying attention and they hit me with their vehicle.
I seen a accident where we were the first people to walk up, and that picture will never leave my mind.
I've seen people get hit before. It's been horrible.
Construction zones on roadways and bridges are more than just cones and equipment. They're the workplace for thousands of dedicated union laborers.
Everybody has a family that they need to get back home to, so please just pay attention to us out here while we're working.
We all have family, and I know it's a pain in the ass, but we're trying to make the roads better for y'all.
We're doing this for everyone.
We're hardworking Hoosiers, just like you, and we all want to make it home safely.
People would just take a couple seconds to pay attention.
Be aware where we're at, where the cone zones are at. We're all in this together, and we're all just trying to be safe.
This is Brian Short, Business Manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
Enjoy the taste of summer at the Farmers Market at Fox Point. Every Tuesday from 9 to 1, shop locally grown fresh produce, delicious baked goods, artisanal treats, and local culinary creations. Just minutes from I-8094, the Farmers Market at Fox Point in Lansing, Illinois is a perfect spot to hear acoustic musicians, stretch with morning yoga, and enjoy community fun throughout the season. To see all vendors and entertainment, visit foxpoint.org. That's point with an E, foxpoint.org.
Plumbers Local 210 is building the future, and we're looking for service plumbers to join our team. Our training center invests nearly $500,000 every year to make sure our members are the best in the industry. From a 5-year apprenticeship and an associate degree at Ivy Tech to ongoing certifications in safety and new technology, our plumbers are trained for excellence. Every member is drug tested and licensed for your safety and peace of mind. When you need plumbing work done, make sure you ask for the license. It's your right to ask.
All right, we're back, and I'm going to pull Annette on the spot for a second here. Okay, newly minted 25-year-old. Adriana is 22. You both know the lyrics to Moneybag Yo a lot better than I do, but you've listened to those lyrics, and let me just ask you this. Have you ever gone out and had a desire to take a trash can and throw a trash can at a cop or to punch some other girl at a concert?
No, I have not.
Well, gee, I wonder why that is. So the lyrics didn't cause that, okay? It's your upbringing, right? Because part of the reason why you don't do that is because you were brought up differently. You were brought up with some values. And frankly, I would venture to guess, even though you're 25 years old, your parents remind you that you're still their daughter and don't embarrass them, right?
Right.
Okay, there you go. 845-1100, we got full phone lines. Let's go back to the calls. Good morning, you're on the air.
Okay, Tom, if that's the case, why do they put warning labels on violent video games and on violent lyrics in music? They put warnings on them, Tom.
Mad Max.
Why do they do that?
I think that some of the video games that are out there are way too violent. My point is that
No, they're not, Tom. No, they're not.
Okay.
No.
Well,
it's not the game.
I think there's
Tom.
a number of movies. I think there's a number of movies that are way too violent these days as well. But
Tom, it's not the movies. It's not the movies.
All right, Mad Mac. So
Mad
Mac, your point is that it all has to do with entertainment causing the violence in America. Because I think that you've made the argument before that it's not. Okay, well then go ahead and make your point.
Okay. Just to clarify before what you said, you mentioned two politicians. One guy, an Islamic Muslim named Madami in New York, then BLM $35,000 a year haircut in Johnson in Chicago. Are they Republicans? Independent? Oh, they're Democrats. Okay, they're Democrats. Just so we know. Now, I'll buy the time on this radio station to have Maylock come in. And you guys sit down and watch the videos. And I want to know, because when I turn on CNN and MSNBC after an election night, they can tell me exactly to the 10% on who voted and who voted for what. They break it down between
Mac, I think we're all agreeing. I think we're all agreeing. Go ahead.
No, we're not even close, Tom. You're making excuses for a segment of the population, and that's pathetic. When I watch MSNBC, they tell me this number of farmers voted for him, this number of Chinese, this number of Spanish, lesbians voted for them, the trannies voted that way. I want Matlock to come in. I'll buy the time. I'll buy a dozen watermelons. I want a head count off those videos from Festival of the Lakes. Show me the number of white kids from Munster that were there that night. I want to know how many Mexicans, Chinese, and blacks. You break it down, and then you tell me the problem.
Okay, well, hold on a second. No. Now that you've pontificated, let me point out something. That one of the videos that MX had on his own note, an Hispanic girl actually talking about how she was in a fight with that big girl over there. That was an Hispanic girl. That wasn't a black girl.
One.
Wait a minute. But wait a minute.
You're
telling no.
There
See, you know what, Ron? No. Here's the problem. Ron called in this morning. And he actually said the problem is that these are people that were raised without parents. They were not raised with proper parental responsibility. He basically said, Ron Matlock said that this morning. He said that there's a whole generation.
Who was he?
A whole generation.
Who was he?
All right, I'll tell you right now. I know.
Who are his renters?
Well, you know what? You know what, Mad Mac? There are some people that live by me that basically are problematic, and they're not black. And wait a minute, they're not black. They're not black, and I don't know what they listen to. I don't know their lyrics, but they're not black. So you can't just say that all the problems that exist in this nation are black, and that's what you like to say. But that's not true, okay?
No, that's not what I like to say.
In fact, Ron basically agreed with you that there is not responsibility and accountability amongst today's youth. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to blame him just because you like to blame Ron. That's all. It's ridiculous.
No, not at all. I just go with the stats. Get Martinez on here and ask him to break down the carjackings from last year. He had 125 carjackings. Ask him to break it down. Amazon can break down statistics in a split second.
I will get the statistics from. I will get the statistics
at the detriment of our
tell you
society.
What, I will get those statistics for tomorrow morning. I'll get them. I'll get them from.
We're digging a hole for our community, and excuses aren't doing it.
All right, I will get those statistics. I will get them for you for tomorrow morning. Absolutely. Hey, thanks for the call.
Love you dearly.
845-1100. We've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah. Tom?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Rick. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's social media. You watch TV and you see all these kids in Chicago jumping on cars, acting like a fool, and they're not really punished for it. I mean, they'll arrest a few people, but I don't know. Indiana, they don't mess around. You mess around in Indiana, you get hooked and booked.
Rick, you're right about that, and I think that's part of the reason why we don't have some of the problems that we generally see in Chicago is because when they come to Indiana, the police. There are consequences. And in Illinois, especially Chicago, the police have been told that they have to stand back and they have to tolerate this stuff. And I'm with you. I think there's got to be accountability. And Mad Mac brought up video games and lyrics and television shows and all those things. And I think that's part of the influence. But I think what you just said is a lot of the influence too, which is social media. This day and age, we glorify anybody that gets basically their 15 minutes of fame on social media, and the dumber the person acts, the more they get covered. And so I think
the more credit.
Yeah,
the more street credit they get.
Right, and so I think that's part of it. I agree with you. I think social media does basically contribute to the problem. But once again, at the end of the day, the reason why Lynette, who knows the lyrics to Moneybag Yo, okay, the reason why she didn't throw a trash can at a cop or try and punch somebody out at a concert is because, again, she understands there's consequences. She also has some self-respect, and she has respect for her family and her parents. And that's my point. There's a whole generation that they don't give a damn what they do. They don't really care, and their parents, you read on social media, Rick, it drives me nuts, but over the weekend there were these apologists that were saying, well, these are just kids. We have to recognize they're kids, and they're going to do some things. It's like, no, we never did those kinds of things. We never assaulted a police officer with a trash can.
Never. You know, when you go somewhere, act like you've been somewhere in your life, you know. But the thing that gets me, I was freaking out when you were saying they called Hobart, the Hobart Police Department. I mean, I wonder how long it took them to get there, like a half hour? That's disgusting.
Well,
that is disgusting.
It was a District 1. It was a District 1 response, and that included a police officer, a Hammond police officer, told me that Hobart Police was amongst the organizations that responded to the call.
Those people that did that, they have no shame. They don't care, and they'll do it again the next opportunity they get. You know, it's disgusting, and I'm sick about it.
Well, maybe the people
sad.
that got locked up, maybe the people got locked up will serve as an example. It's kind of like the story that I've told before when the Whiting police officer was off duty and he was working at Walmart. This was in the summer of love in 2020, when they were rioting in Chicago and they were talking about coming across the line into Indiana. And so they closed the Walmart up near the state line up in Robertsdale, and these two individuals go and they break out a window at I think it was an AT&T store, and the Whiting police officer, who I know very well, basically tackled them. It was funny because afterwards the stories was that, you know, he flew in the air like 25 feet to tackle these two guys, and he tells me it wasn't quite that far, but nonetheless, he took them out, and they basically mouthed off to him and said, you can't do anything to us because Kim Fox says we ain't going to jail. And he said, guess what? You're in Indiana. You're going to jail. And they started crying. He said, Tom, he goes, it was hilarious. He said, as soon as they realized that they were in Indiana, they started crying all of a sudden. Yeah, tough guys. You can't do anything to me because the prosecutor says nothing's going to happen. He's like, yeah, well, you're in Indiana now, so you're going to jail. And then they started crying.
Yeah, wait and see.
Yeah, and see that, but that's right. But see, that's part of the problem. There's no accountability and there's no consequences for these actions in Chicago. And then kids see that and they figure they can do it too. And I love your point. There are consequences. You come to Indiana and you do this, and I don't care whether it's Oscar Martinez or John Sotelo or Jeff Long or Steve Shekel or anybody else that's a police chief in Lake County or head of a law enforcement organization. They will tell you, you do that stuff in Lake County, Indiana, and there are consequences, and it's the same in Porter County. So I'm glad to live here and not across the line in Illinois, where people get away with things all the time. I've got friends I've mentioned before that are Chicago police officers, and what they've told me, what they've had to stand back and allow, I mean, it's caused a number of really great, dedicated police officers to retire early and to go to other departments and to move out of state because they were so upset by what was basically going on the last few years in Chicago. It started with Lightfoot and it's continued with Johnson. So there's no consequences and no accountability.
Good show.
Hey, thanks, Rick. Thanks for the call. 845-1100, we've got another caller. Good morning, you're on the air.
Morning, Tom.
Good morning.
Hey, I was calling about one thing, but I'm going to touch on the subject that you're talking about right now.
Sure.
It's called growing up.
Yeah.
And if the parents don't want to grow up and they don't want to make their kids grow up, then this is all going to spiral. All right. If you look at some of the videos that are out there about flashing the money and having the bling and having the guns and stuff like that, you know, that's what they're trying to imitate. Okay. Now, back in the 80s, there were two documentaries. One was called The Decline of Western Civilization, which covered the punk era which everybody just thought was going to, the world was going to go to hell in a handbasket because the punk kids were out there. And then you had Decline of the Western Civilization Part 2, which covered the metal years, which you have people like Ozzy Osbourne, Alice Cooper, Kiss, a bunch of these heavy metal guys, which, again, all right, which I was part of that scene. I mean, I wasn't that heavy into it or anything, but my generation was part of that scene, that heavy metal scene. The difference is, I mean, you had Alice Cooper singing about dead babies and I Love the Dead and, all this stuff, but we didn't live it. We didn't take that as our reality because our parents kept us grounded. If they saw something that we were doing, they'd whack us and put us back in the line, So the whole Western, decline of Western civilization, they need to make a part 3. And that's the whole thing is your parents back then, if you're out of line, there was this thing called corporal punishment, which I truly believe that they need to bring back. And it wasn't against the law. And if the neighbor down the street saw you doing something and they smacked you because you were out of line, they had every right to, because if you ran home and, said, hey, Mom, Mrs. Brady smacked me on the arm. Well, what did you do? And then she'd call Mrs. Brady, and then you know what? You got smacked again because she was always, if a parent smacked you, there was a good reason for it.
Look, absolutely. And again,
these kids need to be smacked around. I'm sorry.
Again, I can't get no satisfaction, for example, by the Rolling Stones did not cause me to engage in violence or sexual violence. Okay. Yet I know the words, I know the lyrics to the song, and listened to, 1,000 times when I was younger, but it didn't cause me to go out and do the things that are done today. So you said you called for another reason though.
Yeah, we did watch the Kitchen Nightmares last night, which we thought was an awesome show. Tomorrow is our 32nd wedding anniversary, and my wife is like, let's go to Freddy's.
Well,
so my question to you is, go ahead.
No, I'm glad that it basically, maybe Walt was right that, the show, because the show in itself didn't cause you to go to Freddy's, right? I mean, what you saw didn't say, oh yeah, let's go to Freddy's, but maybe it rekindled some memories and some interest in the restaurant. So I guess all publicity does have value. So.
Right. So do you know if you need reservations there, or is it just walk in, or?
I think Freddy's is still. I think you're pretty safe without reservations, except maybe on Friday or Saturday night you might want to call, and I'm sure Jim will be glad to take your reservation in advance. It's not hard to get a hold of them, but again. I thought the show was fine, and Safety Steve was right when he said it actually depicted Northwest Indiana and Hammond as a pretty nice city. But I just think that plot line's kind of worn. The celebrity comes in, finds the broken down restaurant or bar, and part of the story is going to be that the owner or the manager isn't doing his job, and he's gonna shake him up and tell him that he's got to pull himself up by the bootstraps and fix the place, and then all is well at the end. And it's like, okay, but that's kind of a worn story. We've heard that plot line for like every show that Bar Rescue and Kitchen Nightmare and all the other shows have done. It's the same. It's always the same storyline.
But on the other episodes, have they ever promoted like another local business during there, like Lynn's Meats?
That was really remarkable. I thought that was really cool that they promoted Lynn's Meats. I thought that was really nice. Yeah.
I thought that was a great. I mean, not that Lynn's needs any sort of shot in the arm or anything, but I really thought that was great for them too.
I
don't think a lot of people know that much about Lynn's Meats around here and the history.
I don't think they do. It is great quality meats. I wish they had a little better program. They're still working it out for like the holidays. Like you have the Omaha beef products where you can send the frozen beef products to somebody. Lynn's is trying to do that, but they haven't worked out all the bugs yet with it. But I've actually bought my son and my son-in-law steaks for Christmas. They love it. They love to grill, and I mean, to them, it's like, wow, hey, this is awesome. So I think it was a great plug for Lynn's Meats. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, sir, I'm not going to hold you up.
Well, thank you so much for the call. Thanks so much for the call. I really appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Thank you. 845-1100. Let's take a quick break. You're listening to the Morning Call on WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM. We'll be right back. And don't forget, at 8:30 is the Town of Dyer Show.
I'm a victim of being ran over by a semi while I was flagging. The person wasn't paying attention, and they hit me with their vehicle.
I seen a accident where we were the first people to walk up, and that picture will never leave my mind.
I've seen people get hit before. It's been horrible.
Construction zones on roadways and bridges are more than just cones and equipment. They're the workplace for thousands of dedicated union laborers.
Everybody has a family that they need to get back home to, so please just pay attention to us out here while we're working.
We all have family, and I know it's a pain in the ass, but we're trying to make the roads better for y'all.
We're doing this for everyone.
We're hardworking Hoosiers, just like you, and we all want to make it home safely.
People would just take a couple seconds to pay attention.
Be aware of where we're at, where the cone zones are at. We're all in this together, and we're all just trying to be safe.
This is Brian Short, Business Manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
Life's biggest challenges don't come with a warning. When legal issues arise, whether it's a car accident, personal injury, criminal charge, or representing you before municipal boards, you need a trusted advocate on your side. At Westland & Bennett, we listen first because your story matters. We provide strategic, personalized legal solutions to protect your rights, your freedom, and your future. Peace of mind starts with a conversation. Call 219-440-7550 today for a free consultation.
Do you like to work with your hands, creating something from nothing? Then think about Laborers Local 41. You'll get 432 hours of apprenticeship training, all while earning a wage with benefits and incurring no student debt. You'll travel to different job sites, learn tons of skills, and in a lot of cases, be the first one on and last one off a job site. It all starts at laborers41.com.
Fishing for a seafood meal without the stress or mess of cooking? Leave the work to the Strachan Van Til Seafood Department. For just $1 extra per pound, we'll fry, grill, or steam your fish with your choice of 3 kinds of breading. Try our fish and seafood dinners. Each includes a half pound each of seafood and fries, and a quarter pound of coleslaw. Want the freshest catch in town? Reel in the fish and seafood selections from your local Strachan Van Til.
All right, we're back, and we're going to go right to the phone lines because they're full. And don't forget, I'm back tomorrow morning. Got me until 9 o'clock tomorrow. At 6:45, Mark Chase, the executive editor of the Times, is going to be joining me, so he'll take your calls as well. And I think at 7:30, we also have North Township. But we're going to go back to the phone calls because at 8:30, Town of Dyer's coming on. Good morning, you're on the air.
Hey there, Tom. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine,
Hello?
Brad. I can hear you fine. And what do you think about the takeover of People's Bank? Another local bank going by the wayside.
Well, I got to tell you one thing. Banks, credit unions, any kind of financial institution, they got a real big wake-up call coming very shortly, within weeks, and they are so unprepared for it. I don't think they know what's about to happen to them. They're just going to let it ride with your money in the bank. Because, I mean, there's all kinds of things. Of course they're going to get taken over. They're going to get bought out left and right. Are you kidding? They're going to be decimated, literally destroyed here in a few weeks, if not months. Because there's so many electronic platforms out there that are going to give you such massive interest rates versus the brick and mortars that they claim that they've been literally giving you 0.01 interest. There's guys out there that I could take my crypto and get 4 to 8% interest on. You're going to tell me a bank's going to compete with that? Good luck, kids. I was in there trying to tell everybody about this problem for years. And you know what all those executives did? They didn't listen to me. They didn't care. They brought me in to figure out what the hell I knew and then just dropped me like a fly because they realized I came in like the Grim Reaper to tell them the reality of their banking. So all your banking Chamber of Commerce heroes that take the day off in there and waste everybody who's got a real business's time at the Chamber of Commerce with your bank talk, you guys are up the creek, and I mean without a paddle. So good luck, if that's you want my opinion on that. So as far as the music, Tom, I remember my father telling me this story about Grand Funk Railroad in the 1970s at the Rosemont Horizon when they broke all the windows to get in there, and glass dropped all over the entire crowd. So nothing new about music. It's almost as if sometimes you have to ask yourself, is this music there purposely to create this kind of stir? You know, I mean, it's so obvious. Did you notice rap music on the Billboard charts has just plummeted? And I mean just plummeted ever since U.S. aid went away? That's a weird one, huh? But the weirdest thing that I have to say is, Tom, do you know if they put the fires out in Canada? There was so much smoke the other day, and if they're still burning, how come it's not blowing here anymore?
Well,
Did the winds change?
So the winds have changed. The winds have changed. The fires are still burning. But I just want to ask this, okay? If it was the other way around, if the fires were in the U.S. and that smoke was blowing to Canada, the French, the British, the Norwegians, they'd all be standing at the border screaming at us, right? But every single year...
Oh, they'd be making us pay for fire trucks.
And these wildfires in Canada are continuing. They're almost never completely put out. They burn and they rekindle, and it's a yearly event. And it's like, oh, yeah, well, you know, the Canadian wildfires, and then people tell me global warming. I had one person on social media the other night who said, well, I don't know what, you know, you can say what you want, that global warming doesn't exist, but the magnetic field of the Earth and what else did he say? Gravity has weakened and all this stuff. And I said, where did you get these arguments? There is no proof whatsoever of any of this stuff. And it has nothing to do with causing the wildfires in Canada either. But people want to blame everything.
It's crazy. I think that, you know, they have controlled burns all the time, too, all over the place. And sometimes people will be like, oh, my God, it's a forest fire. It's like, nah, man, they're just cleaning out the debris. If you don't clean it out, the rest of the floor of the forest, whatever, dies. So you kind of got to do some forestry tending. But I wanted to get real quick, so you got some other calls because I know you're going to end at 8:30. As far as Mad Mac and the research you want to do for them, now, you know, I curate news in my own kind of proprietary way. I've been in the tech industry for a long time. I know how to curate all kinds of stuff in a second. There is a alarming post out there, and I don't know if this is true, and it relates to what you guys were talking about. Well, with him saying that a lot of people of color are committing more crimes or whatever. This post is into the millions, and I want everyone to look it up because I want to be wrong about this. I mean, I obviously I want to really be told I'm wrong because I hope it's not true, but there are people out there researching everyone who's been booked in prisons all over the United States. And this would skew your statistics or the data that you might find for him. So I just want you to look into it because he might come at you with it. But they've been booking millions of inmates in as white. And they are of Hispanic origin or they are color and melanated and, considered what they would like to call themselves black, things like that. And I just want you guys to look into it because it is huge. I mean, and supposedly it's an FBI uniform crime reporting data that it came for. And in 2019, the FBI stats, 69% of arrests were listed as white, with 26 and 27% Hispanics and black. 27 black, 19 Hispanics. But the analysis showed that they were booked in as white, and that changed the statistics 30 to 40%. So I'm just saying, look into it because it's something that I think we need to know about. And I don't know how it works, but it's all based upon the FBI Uniform Crime Reporting, the UCR. And I guess the federal guidelines have instituted this for years. So,
yeah, no, you're right about that. But he brought up carjackings, and he said, get the information on carjacking. So I'm going to call Sheriff Martinez as soon as I'm off the air and get that information. So. Hey, I appreciate the call.
Yeah, good luck, man. Good show. I got something really big to call in tomorrow. It'll be better, and it'll leave us for the weekend and talk about something.
All right,
So have a good one,
great.
Tom. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you so much. 845-1100. We've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air. Hello, you're on the air. Good morning. Well, we dropped that call. We have another caller. Okay, so now's the time to call back. 845-1100. First time the phone lines are now open in 2 hours and 12 minutes. So give us a call back. Whoever that was, you were on hold, and we picked up, and I think you thought you were still on hold. So you can give us a call back, and we've got callers. Good morning. You're on the air. Good morning. Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Go ahead.
This is Josh, first time caller. I wanted to comment on this subject about the kids. I think a lot of times I'm hearing like color, I'm hearing about cities, I'm hearing about parents, accountability. Some of it is all great and very true, especially about parents, accountability. But what about holding our politicians accountable in these regards, right? Because if there's a trickle-down effect, and do our kids matter? Does it matter what color they are, or do they all matter? Because then why are we talking about that?
I agree with you. Let me just interrupt you and say I agree with you. They all matter. Okay, I think that it's ridiculous to try and blame it on one ethnicity or one race or the other. I think they all matter, and I think that there are problems amongst all youth these days. So I think it's far more widespread than the one caller wants to make it out to be.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that we need to stop looking at it in that regard and look at it as a whole. I mean, you made a bunch of comments about it, looking at the bigger picture rather than one incident, and I think that's very important to remind each other about. So we don't get lost into the emotion aspect of it, because at the end of the day, it sounds like everybody cares.
Well, let me ask you a question. So, let me ask you a question. You sound younger, obviously younger than I am, and but that's 90% of the people listening. But I mean, look, you grew up. You're responsible. You're responsible enough to call in and voice your opinion, and I appreciate that. But did you listen to lyrics over the years that were suggestive and violent, and it didn't cause you to want to go out and hit a police officer with a garbage can, did it?
Not at all, sir. Actually, I grew up in Northwest Indiana. I was a class of 2001 from Hammond High School. Hip-hop is one of my favorite genres, but I listen to all music. I'm Hispanic. I'm mixed, actually. I'm mixed with Mexican and Puerto Rican, two that normally don't gel with each other, but hey, my kids are also mixed. They're mixed with, German and Polish, and so, we don't see any of that. We see families, we see kids, we see that you need to love and nurture and, teach values and, hope for the best, that when they become the people that they are, that sticks with them. Yeah, and want to be good people.
And by the way, in that mix of cultures that you are, I mean, which part of you is the better part? The Mexican part, the Puerto Rican part, the German part, or how about all of you together? I mean, this is what I think is crazy, is when people call in and they say, well, it's this ethnicity or this race. That's baloney. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the way you were brought up, the way you were raised, the accountability of your parents, and the lessons and the values that you were taught. That's what makes the difference.
Exactly. And I think that we also need to remember that every culture brings something amazing to the table, whether it's the music, whether it's the food, whether it's the, upbringings of values and why, and I think that a lot of times we focus on the wrong things, whether it's the propaganda, whether it's the media, whether it's our politicians trying to say whatever they want to say to get elected, and it affects us. It affects us as people who are passionate, who care, and I think we just need to remind it, and I just wanted to thank you for reminding some of your callers about that, because I heard couple comments where it seems like maybe they were getting a little lost on that. So
Well-
I wanted to thank you for that.
Well, I want to leave you with this. So the guy that co-founder of Pierogi Fest, being me, doesn't eat pierogies, yet I really like empanadas. So, and you tell me, because you've got the ethnic background to know it. Will you tell me the difference between a pierogi and an empanada? Okay, there's a lot of similarities, but I like empanadas, but I don't like pierogies.
A lot of similarities.
There sure
A
are.
lot of similarities, for
Yep.
sure. And even when it comes to that, like an empanada made by a Mexican will be different than by somebody from Panama. You know?
Yes.
Like, it's just different.
Yes, for example, I've been told that the best empanadas, depending on, of course, what their ethnic background. I've had this argument in Florida. I've been told the best empanadas are made by Colombian culture, by Argentinian culture. I've been told Mexican, you name it. Everybody says theirs is better. It's just like with pierogi. The Poles claim it, the Hungarians claim it, the Slovaks claim it, the Czechs claim it. They all claim it. It at the end of the day, it comes down to probably the individual recipe and has little to do with the ethnicity. Hey, thanks so much for the call. 845-1100. We've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Tom, you got to keep your ears open from in between now till Christmas. If that Lintz Meats does like a holiday steak pack, because my dad does the same thing that you do for your kids. He gets us a box of the big old box of Kansas City steaks.
Yeah.
And but I'd be willing to tell him, hey, try something different if it's available.
So I actually went over to Lintz last year because I couldn't get through on the phone, and I knew they built this new factory in Hammond, and I think it was one of the times the mayor was on the radio with me, and afterwards we were talking about it, and I said, I'm going to just go over there and see if they have it. And I went there, and the lady couldn't have been nicer. And she's like, well, we started it, but it's kind of in its infancy, and they weren't able to do like the cold pack shipping like Omaha Steaks does, but they're working on it. So I will continue to check on that because I think their food is great. I mean, when you taste their meat, I'll agree with Gordon Ramsay. There's a difference, and they have great meat, and they're right here in Hammond. And if they start doing these holiday gift packs, boy, the line's going to be down the street, right? Because it'd be just awesome.
So can you just walk off the street and go in there and buy product?
You really can't yet. So you really can't do that yet. That's what they're trying to set up. Their point was, the woman was so nice to me, and she said, look, we just located in this building and a massive facility right there in Hammond, and so they didn't have everything set up yet. So I'll tell you what I'll do. In fact, I'll make a call today and report back tomorrow to see where things stand on it, because I know they were planning on having this kind of operation, but I don't know if they've done it yet. So I'll just check and report back tomorrow morning.
Yeah, because I've never even thought about going there because I always believed it was just a wholesale operation.
Well, like I said, I had this idea about getting my son-in-law and my son steaks from Lynn's, and I couldn't do it last year, but it's still on my mind for this year. And you never go wrong with sending somebody, at least a guy, sending a meat. Now, I don't know that would work too well. I don't think Lynette over here really wants to get a 10-pound gift of steak. She's kind of looking at me like, no way. I don't think it would work for my daughter either. I don't think if I sent it to my daughter, Rachel would appreciate it. But if I sent it to Brendan, her husband, yeah, he thinks it's great. So I will find out about it.
It's the best gift I get.
Yeah, I'm going to find out.
Yeah,
I'm going to find about it.
Let us know.
I will. Thank you so much.
Okay.
845-1100 is the number to call. Do we have more callers? No, we don't. Oh, my gosh. We actually have a pause in the calls this morning, and we're 9 minutes away from ending the day because the Town of Dyer show is coming on in 9 minutes. So if you want to call in, please feel free to do so at 845-1100. There was a controversy, and maybe we'll pick this up tomorrow. There's some controversy on the internet, and there was an article in the Times in Northwest Indiana yesterday. And, of course, we'll be talking to Mark Chase tomorrow morning, the executive editor. But there was a story about a situation with the Whiting Patriots baseball team and the Crestwood Collegiate League and the Northwest Indiana Oilmen. And I just want to comment about that. Look, when the Oilmen began playing at Oil City Stadium in Whiting, the first 3 years I bought season tickets, I actually owned 4 seats right behind home plate, so much so that they put my name on the seats. Okay, so I was a supporter, and I'm a friend of Don Poppervax, but I think that there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of unnecessary claims and allegations being made on social media. First off, over the past few years, the Northwest Indiana Oilmen dropped to a league with only 4 teams, all 4 teams being owned by the same owner of the Northwest Indiana Oilmen. And you can say what you want. You can say that they were league champions, but when you own all 4 teams, one of the 4 is always going to be a league champion. Their attendance had dropped off dramatically. There were some other issues, and the city of Whiting decided to make a change. They went with a collegiate league out of Crestwood. The league itself, I guess, was not enamored with locating and playing in Northwest Indiana, largely because their point is that their league basically plays baseball. They're not there to entertain the fans. They're not there to have contests between innings and emulate minor league or major league baseball. And so they've parted their ways now, and they're looking, basically the owner of the team's looking to next year to possibly play with some of the other local teams like the Lake County Corn Dogs that play from Crown Point. To me, it's a disappointment because I enjoy baseball, and I enjoy baseball that I can ride my bicycle to in downtown Whiting. I think it's a great venue. Oil City Stadium is one of the best venues in Northwest Indiana. Don't take my word for it. Sam Michael agrees with me on that one. And Sam knows baseball better than just about anybody associated with WJOB. So he says the same thing. It's a great venue. They need a team. They need a league that will draw people in. I know that Don Poppervax stated that he drew over 100,000 people in 565 games. If you average that out, that's about 176 people a game. But the numbers had dramatically dropped in recent years. And so I find it a little bit incredulous that some people are on social media claiming how they went to those games all the time, because if all those people that claim that they went to the games all the time, there would have been a lot more people at those games than there were for the Oilmen. So I think it's a growing pain problem. It's an issue that people, certainly have the right to weigh in on, but to make it into the issue that it was on social media the other day, I think was a little unfair. There was an incident, I guess, where the umpires didn't get paid. The money was missing, and that led to a cancellation of some games, and that's unfortunate. But it wasn't the claim of a significant financial mismanagement caused the elimination of the team. It doesn't sound that way. It sounds like they just weren't real happy with playing games all the way in Indiana when all the other teams were in Illinois. I think I'm disappointed because we had the owner of the team. He called in twice, and he talked about all the things they were going to do and the connections to the White Sox and a lot of things that didn't materialize this year. I know the weekend tournaments are doing pretty well. You see a lot of cars out there. So the weekend tourneys are still bringing people into downtown Whiting. But I do believe that if any stadium in Northwest Indiana, other than maybe Block Stadium, deserves to have a regular team and regular competition that people can go to and enjoy and stop and have dinner, the Whiting venue, you cannot beat for that. And so I'm disappointed to see that, basically this year is kind of a pass, but hopefully they get things worked out for next year. But I wouldn't believe everything that you read on social media. Again, there are a lot of people weighing in and talking about things. And yes, the Northwest Indiana Oilmen did win the championship last year, but they were playing 3 other teams that were all owned by the same, basically, party. So it's not quite the same as winning the World Series, folks. And that's just my take on it. But we'll pick up that discussion tomorrow morning on the other side because we've got one more caller. And nope. I'm told that we're not going to take that caller because we are running out of time. So we'll pick that up tomorrow morning, and we can talk about that and anything else. And again, as I've said many times before, this was great this morning. I love the conversation. I love the disagreement. You know, Mad Max said we're something and made the comment, hey, we're still friends when we disagree. You're right. We are. Mad Mac and I talk off the air. We argue about a lot of things, but you know what? We're still friends. And Ron's a friend of mine, and MX is a friend of mine, and everybody that calls, Brad and everybody else, you're all friends of mine. And I enjoy immensely talking to all of you and letting you share your views and letting me argue with you. And that's part of talk radio, and that's what's fun about talk radio. And so I love this tremendously, and I really love the fact that this is a twofer week. So I get to do it again tomorrow. Don't forget Pierogi Fest. It starts Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Hey, it's part of my legacy. I was the co-founder and founder of the parade and spent so many years chairing it. So I hope it's a tremendous success. But being 6'9", as Safety Steve said, you stand out in a crowd, Tom. You can't avoid being cornered and asked about 100 different things. And I've got to let other people now take it on and run that event. So I will not be there this year, but I wish them all the best, and I wish all of you the best, and I will pick this up back tomorrow morning right here on WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM. Lynette, thank you so much for being here this morning, and thank you for listening to lyrics and not going out and wanting to punch somebody. So there you go. We'll pick it back up tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Folks, have a great day.
It's the simplest expression. The smallest thing that changes everything. A smile.